On today's episode of Let's Talk FGO, Grand Duel Assassin is real. Did you expect who your opponent would be? Also, the Grail Front is happening, and we're going to talk about it. And PTOLEMY'S. Hello, I am one of your hosts, Dayman Omega. With me, as always, Nightman Lucky.
I hope everyone is enjoying Fate Grand Order, aka, oh no, he's young and hot. And while we here at Studio Mega like to bring you the latest in FGO-related news and memes, we will be talking about current and future events for the JP and EN version of the game. So anyone not wanting spoilers should collect all the books you can.
Delicious books.
Delicious books.
I had a thought earlier today about books, but that'll actually come up naturally later, so I'll bring it up then.
Woo!
But so, we're here, we're back, we're talking about stuff.
A lot of stuff.
We should have plenty of stuff for you to do, yes. News, mailbag, other things, other things. But before we get into that, I would like to remind you the show is brought to you by all of our wonderful, beautiful listeners and watchers on YouTube, but especially our extra beautiful and wonderful patrons. That's right. When you subscribe to the Patreon, the adjective I use to describe you gets better. I use better adjectives, more superlatives. More on that, of course, as we get on. But, consider supporting his own channel and making sure to subscribe on YouTube to get more things. Actually, I guess I can say that at the front end. I've talked about a little bit of business, but I've assembled my my assets I need for the future planned video reading some of the selected short stories from Robert Chambers' King in Yellow. Again, I don't know how many videos it'll be because I want to hit that minimum length for AdRev mid-rolls, and I don't know how long it'll take me to actually read out loud them. And I do need to find some choice music, but like I said, I've got all my stuff assembled, so expect to see that in the next couple of weeks for the spooky season. But that means, with our preambulatory business out of the way, let's check in with everybody's favorite Kohai, Mesh.
Senpai, 起きてください.
Because it is time for Wake the Fuck Up Senpai, Wake the Fuck Up for Pro Tips. This is a pretty simple pro tip because I'm basically telling you if you want more tips, where to go. But I did happen to, when double-checking the news, note that if you need a primer on Grail Front, you want to remember how all the rules work and stuff, the FGO USA site has a guide. If you go to your news, like literally in-app, and open the news listing, you'll find a link there in the event summary. And that covers everything and also has been updated for all the new rules for this version. Because I do actually think most Grail Fronts are slightly different each time.
I think they do try to iterate on things every time. It's an interesting
This one, obviously,
concept.
I think the major improvement is in the fact that there are actual mission objectives that are not just defeat enemy master or defeat all enemies. Sometimes you have to stand in a particular spot. But that is that. That means we move on to Records from the Throne, our regular achievement topic.
So I'm on the top here, so I believe I'll go first. So, actually, I have to ask, is it Ptolemy or is it Ptolemys, as you said?
So, we are speaking English right now. Ptolemy is the normal way you say that name in English. PTOLEMY'S is the original Greek.
Okay, then I will continue with Ptolemy. So, got Ptolemy on 4 tickets. Wasn't aiming for him. I was, throwing 10 tickets for CEs and hopefully a Gun Gal, which I got none of, by the way. Anyway, he is smile protected.
Yep. It's very interesting because, hey, it's my turn. I also got Ptolemy in several tickets. I think I tweeted about this when it happened in the middle of the night. I don't remember if it was a similar amount. It was like ticket like 3 or 4. And I did get exactly 1 Sugitani. Both smiles are now protected. How did you actually do on your CE luck? Because I didn't get anything though on tickets.
Nothing. I got nothing.
Damn.
I got a bunch of I didn't even get another 3-star.
Yeah, I have not. I've continued to feed tickets into the machine and have not gotten any more Sugitanis. I will double check right now because it's relevant. I'm fairly certain that once this banner period ends, she is permanently added to the FP pool. So that means you can just grind that one out.
Yes, no, if you do check her summon info, it says early release banner, permanent early release banner, or something like that.
So yeah, you'll be able to just grind that one out. Same with Theseus, I believe.
I do believe that people are saying they're probably going to wait for the next Gouda. I believe it's a good time to spend a bunch of SP. I think they may say that something might show up then. I don't remember.
They'll probably do a Nobukatsu rerun in the FP gacha, which obviously is one of those things of like, that is one of those moments that's like, technically that's more efficient for your FP because obviously if you get Nobukatsu extra copies, who is technically limited, but you get extra coins because he is limited, so if you're Grail casting, it's better.
Yeah, I'm probably going to spend like 2 million FP because I got like 3 million. I'm like, I'm not doing anything with this.
No, it's a lot to go through if you stockpile. It's like saving all of your, like, apples and stuff if you do for, like, Lotto. Like, yes, that's more efficient use of your AP, but also, if you actually spent all of your FP, like, doing the thing, that's so much rolling. It's so much rolling.
It's a lot of rolling, man.
I don't know if I'll be spending tickets on it, so yeah, I will probably be spending a decent amount of FP for both probably NP5ing Sugitani at this point. I'm getting a sense from the tickets that that's not going to happen.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna.
And also, you know, Theseus is coming out, so that one I think I don't know if I'm going to spend any tickets on any rate-ups that are actually his.
Is Theseus a 3-star or a 4-star? I forget.
He is a 3-star Saber.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure he's 3-star.
I'm glad even now, even if it's not as much as I like, we are still getting, you know, free-ish servants.
Yeah. Though I do believe that for some of these classes, these are the last free releases we've gotten so far. Some of that, though, I think is just that, like, the current year in FGO is weird, for lack of a better term. Like, they are still doing new servants, obviously, but I feel like in a lot of cases, we're doing a lot of also, like, reruns. Like, genuinely, I think Ptolemy's going to get, like, 3 or 4 rate-ups in JP this year, total. Because I said this in the Wanted, out now, watch it. It's like 20 minutes of history to like 5 minutes of mechanics. But I am fairly certain that unless I'm going crazy, we haven't done Grand Duel Archer yet. So that means that he'll get another rate up then. And he's already had like 2 or 3 this year in JP. So like he's going to get rate upped a lot, which is funny because like next year he gets like 1 rate up. No, it's okay. It's like one of those things where I'm like, I'm trying to double check my memory. Yeah, so like rate ups in JP are weird right now. That'll be another primo chance to get Sugitani, because there's not that many 3-star archers. But yes, even though I do believe both you and I said that, you know, Ptolemy's cool, but we're not going to, like, go crazy. Got him a ticket.
Well, we didn't go crazy.
No, we did go crazy. It was the reverse desire sensor. But all right, we're here.
All right.
That means we're going to move on to, because there's not really any evils. I mean, we just spent tickets, so...
Yeah.
I generally spend tickets expecting nothing.
Yeah.
It's time for Did You Finish Your Master Missions? Provided this week by Lucky. Even though I didn't catch it the first time.
It was a slight thing. It was just one of those things. I was playing FGO and it's like, I'm gonna, you know, I have some thoughts. I'm gonna write them down. And then I checked the FGO notes. I was just like, oh, I can write some stuff here. I can like clear things up and get the master missions and save Omega like 5 minutes maybe.
And you technically did, because I just copied them out of the history and I realized. I did have to double check that they were the same because, like I said earlier, Google Docs tried to gaslight me. I like went into the history and the history just showed the like version from last week in like the compressed view, and I was like, hold on, that doesn't seem right. I had to like look for the specific version where you change them to copy from. But yes, your Mastoro missions this week are perform 30 friend point summons. Gee, I wonder why. Defeat 3 each of lawful and chaotic servants. This does, I believe, exclude both summoned enemies. Not that that happens that much, but do keep an eye out for it. And also, I'm pretty sure that Grail Fronts don't count.
Yes.
Which is okay, because there's very limited numbers of enemies in there. Anyway, defeat 15 demonic trait enemies, not just servants. And again, that's excluding summoned or Grail Fronts. And then 5 quests, and then 10 quests.
Ta-da.
So, like, do the Grail Front, but also remember to do your free quests, which is something that I have not been doing. Luckily, we have, like, 2 more whole weeks of this.
I am glad that every event we get, it does just like, hey, you know, half AP storm missions. I'm like, perfect.
Yeah, no, So, this is a slight aside chat, but it's relative to FGO, you know. We can have this conversation now. On the one hand, like, for newer players, or, you know, players who maybe weren't paying attention, I do think that the outright lack of reruns does kind of hurt some of the, like, catching up with certain story beats that are strongly recurring.
Mm-hmm.
And it used to, there is going to be probably about a couple of years in FGO's history where I do think it kind of fucked up the rerun banners. And then, like, in the past, I want to say year and a half or maybe even 2 years, JP just went, fuck it. No, it's not gonna fuck up the banners of reruns. We're just gonna rerun so many banners. All the banners, all the time. So they, like, fixed that part. But on the other hand, as a steady, recurring player of FGO, not doing reruns and getting 3 winks every event does mean that, like, I do play less FGO, but also, like, it gives me time to play FGO like more broadly, I guess. I no longer feel like I have to rush in to slam down an event and then get all my, free quest farming. It's like, okay, we can work through the event story at a steady rate, and then we're like, all right, okay, we got like a week left. Well, nothing's in the store that I need anymore. We've cleaned it all out. Well, let's just do, storm pods. And eventually,
the reason why we don't do reruns is because people don't actually actively engage with reruns. I know there'll be some people out there like, oh, my mats and stuff, but I do believe there has been discussion that basically FGO play hours go significantly down during reruns.
Yeah, and it's like it is one of those things of like, one of our patrons in the live chat now, supporters and patron at any level of access chat, but somebody said it, I think, best. There's a benefit and a detriment to reruns, and it's like, yes, if you missed the event or you didn't get all the rewards from the event the first time, or if you're a newer player who literally wasn't playing when an event was rerun because they were kind of on a rotation of like a year or even 2 years apart, gives you a chance to catch up. That's good for you. And, won't say no to more rewards. However, if you were a recurring player, well, it's not like you've got, like, very rarely, I should say, you had brand new story to catch up on. Like, the amount of times they actually added something extensive to reruns is super rare. Like the super long KP challenge quest thing in when they reran Seraph.
I was just thinking that, actually.
Yeah. And then they added it to the main interlude because it was a plot critical story anyway. But the play rates tanked, and I mean, I could probably go back and crunch the numbers and like check our analytics and shit. I'm pretty sure our podcasts during rerun times are probably like, unless there's also something big going on JP, the episodes are shorter, we have less to say about them, we're playing the game less. Like, we have our snapshot of our entire history, going back to the game. I'm pretty sure if you dug through our episodes, you would find that we were less engaged almost always on a rerun. And yes, as Chet also brought up, it's not like you got, like, you didn't get redundant grails and stuff, So
like,
there was less
good
commitment
stuff
to
in
it.
the like event shop and stuff, but a lot of the times it's stuff that, especially back when we were doing a lot more reruns, like it's stuff that usually had a fair amount of anyway. Or people would get, or would get the thing they specifically wanted and just leave the elf. So it's one of those things, benefit and detriments, and they just said, you know what, we'll just cut it and we'll get rewards out to people other ways.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like I do, and we'll see what they do after part 2 ends properly. Like, no matter what, there's gonna have to be something done like archivally about all the gajillions of hours of writing they've put into this game that if they do like shut off the servers, whether it's to go to FGO2 or just because they are done, people won't be able to access. Otherwise, they'll probably need to do something for the bigger Type Moon fan base. But sorry, clearing my breath a little. But there's lots of story there that's interesting. But once you did the story, and if they're looking at the engagement numbers and they're just like, yeah, we're literally getting less draw, it's like, yeah, that's not worth it, even if you are trying to appeal to newer players and like recurring player base. It just, if the numbers aren't there, it's one of those things of just like, well, why do you spend, time and effort? And it is a little bit of time and effort. You might think it's no time and effort to do reruns, but usually they did like adjust the difficulty. They did usually kind of like change up a few things in the shop and stuff, and it's not nothing. Like, I'm sure it didn't take them a long time, but every single rerun had a different graphic. Like, they updated the graphic to say rerun or replay or something in it somewhere, in both English and Japanese. So, like, that means one guy on the art team had to fucking redraw every single logo this game ever had for an event. Like, that's not nothing. It's not like a hard thing, but it's like, I'm sure that streamlined their pipeline a lot. Shit, that's making me curious. I'd love to hear, like, so when they were doing reruns, did they just have them preemptively design the rerun version of the logo? Who knows?
Not.
No, probably not. All right. Then let us move into skelograms. First, let me rub my eyes. There we go, that's better. I have the window open to let all the heat out, chat.
Event.
It's important. It's 69 degrees outside.
Nice.
Now, our mailbag will be fairly brief. Just a couple of things going on, and not a lot of, like, super detail to go into, but we did get some answers on some stuff. So, first of all, in JP, Duel Assassin starting the 15th JP time. So it's time to select your Grand Assassin, and your opponent will be Azrael the Pale. So yeah, kind of coming out of nowhere, but also like clearly, we know what we're working with here.
I'm not entirely actually sure because I am not actually looking at the details. But is this just the old man of the mountain but young, or is this like actually a different entity?
There's no like story in these, so I don't know this. So Old Man Hassan, the first Hassan, right, has Azrael as his NP. The Evening Bell tolls. This guy is Azrael, the Angel of Death. His noble phantasm is Angel of the Evening Bell. It's also literally just in Arabic, Angel of Death. So, like, the idea could be, because Old Man Hassan does have, like, a lot of weird skills and stuff about being between the boundary of life and death, this could just be Gramps without his armor on. Or it could be that this is the literal Angel of Death and just, Gramps learned how to kill so good from this guy.
Damn.
I don't know if they put out, like... I guess we'll see if they do a materials book, if they'll do, like, materials on the grand opponents.
Oh, I hope so. They've put a lot of extra efforts in these dudes. Well, that's why I'm curious, because I know there is a connection, and I'm just trying to figure out how deep is said connection.
Yeah, and I don't know. I do believe, based on what people are saying, his sprites are not set up to be playable. They are not, like, mirrored. So I think he's just here for love of the game. Though, if this is just, like, Super Mode Gramps, kind of like how we got Super Mode Herc, that would be cool, too.
Yeah, I like that idea. Also, Musashi did also have unique defeat lines, too, depending if there's a pretty boy or girl or not in your party when you defeated her.
Yes, she had extra dialogue. I do believe she had some extra animations and stuff. Herc, like, had whole new sprites.
Herc had whole new sprites in MP. I don't know if Herc had brand new voice lines. I would not be able to tell. I'm gonna be real. I'm sorry, Herc.
Wow, okay. Let's not do that again. God. That must... Not that he has to do a lot of work for it, but it must suck to be Berserker's voice actor and just, roar into microphones. Probably run through some filters. Ugh. So actually, you see, the notes are in the wrong spot. They are under the mailbag. I missed it earlier. Listen, like I said, I was just... Because we hadn't talked about it at all. I popped in earlier today and I was like, oh, Lucky wrote some notes. Some first impression notes.
I did. I had first impressions. Surprising.
Like, let me read them. Well... This is, again, an aside, but it is going into our next subject, which is the Grail Front, Castle of Shining Dawn, Castle of Shadow Dusk, Shining Duck, or Shadow Duck.
This is why I just say Castle of Night and Day, or Day and Night. I'm not saying all of it.
I'm pretty sure the original Japanese was fairly literal to just day and night, much easier. But that started the 15th our time, and is going on until the 4th of November. And it's basically just like was said in the pregame in the previous week. And in the pregame, I did bring up that this one is way more story heavy. There are like I said, I think like 20-ish like story pips. Most of them are like one pip, no battles, but still, there's quite a lot of story to be had here. So there is something to be impressed, I guess. Have first impressions. There is something to impress upon. And yes, we will talk about that shortly. But yes, that is the extent of the news so far in FGO. We got a new Grand Duel. It's pretty neat.
Actually, do we know what the Grand Assassin benefits are? Because they're different for each class, right?
I think I believe I saw earlier a link in our JP chat about the benefits of the... Yeah, we have a link on Reddit to the Grand Assassin score effects. Also, I do believe they have said that there should be a Halloween event. There'll be a late October event.
Will we finally get Elizabeth Japan?
God, I hope so.
Will this be Ellie's farewell tour?
I guess it would be the time for it. The bonus servant list does show all the Lizzes.
Listen, some people might be tired of her. I'm not. Give me more Ellie. I know what I'm about.
Let's see, Grand Assassin. Increase critical strength on chains. Hidden Blade. Decrease death resistance for one enemy when dealing non-critical attacks. Chance to inflict death when inflicting critical attacks.
Jesus.
And apply evade and increase death resist for yourself if no chain is formed. That's very funny. And applies a state that changes evades to presence concealment, which is a special evade which ignores pierces.
Oh, damn.
Negates sure hit, ignore invincible, and even anti-enforcement.
What? Terrifying.
Yeah, so your Grand Assassin is truly concealed. The hardest of defenses. So yeah, no, there's some... The grand effects are all like really funny. I think looked through literally every list they've got with the grand class scores, but yeah, they're doing a lot of stuff here. Assassin is definitely one of those classes that I feel like needed the assistance, so giving them some very funny tools. I mean, it's Prisoners Concealment. You're literally not there.
Sorry, Robinson chat. Man, I can't believe we power crept the power crept invincibility.
That's my secret captain. It's power creep all the way down.
It's gonna work on my Queen Sky. We'll see.
I will say at least that the way it works is the presence concealment only works if you are granted the evasion effect. So it's not going to work for every kit. You will need to prepare to grant evades. But assassins do like to evade, and there are ways to give it. Obviously, I believe previously we've had a way to there is a system to dodge anti-enforcement or increase the there are things that will pierce anti-purge defense and invul but won't pierce evade rather.
Oh yeah, I think I've seen like a couple special modifiers here and there of like very specific bypasses.
Yeah, there's a few ways they've played around with hard defenses, and yeah, you can't always fire up the buff strip.
All right. Well, with that, it is time for this week's Let's Talk FGO mailbag, the segment where we read what you have to say and comment accordingly. I am refacing the page one last time, and we have six lovely comments to get through, and we'll start at the top right now. The first one comes from the Tyrant King, understanding now Blackbird's culture taste. Thanks, AL. That's Azure Lane, by the way. Question. Hey guys, since we're doing the Halloween this year, are there any parodies you think FGO could do for the event? And what's your guess on the new Liz class? Anyway, that's it for me. Sending good vibes your way. Wah, 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 wah. And hope you have a great evening. Well, thank you. Yes, if you do not know, Azure Lane has a special faction of ship called Tempestus, which is all based off of basically famous pirate ships. And they just recently announced the Queen's and Revenge, which was Blackbeard's ship. So there have been jokes going aplenty. Unfortunately, Azure Lane was one of the games that I had to go cold turkey on, along with several others, to, save my soul, so I will not be participating. I will resist.
Having enough hours in the day is important.
Yes, but it does look good. The Tempestus faction likes to use a lot of tentacles in their designs, so it's kind of fun.
They are the Yarhar.
The Yarhar. As for the Liz question, it is quite timely, as all the Liz's are on the bonus events. And like I said, I'm still holding out for Elizabeth Japan. Let's see here. At this point, I think we need an Archer Liz, really? Maybe an Assassin Liz or a Berserker Liz. We need to continue on the triangle. I would like to fill out as many of the basic Liz classes as we can.
It's true.
But also so we can stop making the fucking Babo jokes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the Archer Liz joke is Babanshi, and if we did have an Archer Liz, it would get to confusion.
Although there should definitely be a joke about Babanshi being confused for Liz.
Babanshi would be the one to see an Archer Liz and be like, hey, you're stealing my style. And then Liz would be like, girl, what? I have been here for 10 years. I mean, I feel like it won't be because of that, but I do think it would be very funny if it was an Assassin Liz, kind of on the back end of it. Conversely, if it is an Archer Liz, that would be perfect timing for the lead up to Grand Duel Archer.
Yeah, actually, can we have at least one grand battle that's an actual joke and not actually super serious?
Oh my god, that would be. I mean, it could be a little tough for the Toad as we're getting pretty close, but we could take a moment of levity too. Liz would be the perfect one for that. Sorry, I'm just imagining Grand Duel Liz. It's just oops, Liz is all the way down. Maybe that will be the event. Maybe Halloween will be Grand Duel Liz.
The Grand Duel fight isn't one thing, it's just you fight a Liz of every class. It's like, we're all Liz, so we all count as one servant. You're just like, ah!
Their collective NP is just that the fucking end of A Realm Reborn, just with all the Liz's together shooting it in a line at you.
I mean, isn't that kind of a Pretender's Liz's attack, if I remember correctly?
That's true. It's kind of like that. It's a little.
Well, no. It has to be 7 Liz's, but they're all just one sprite, so it's just basically 7 Liz's in a group constantly, not separately. Oh god, I love it.
They just form a pile that takes up the entire screen.
Some sort of Liz Gatai. I would like that. I don't think they're gonna do that, but I would like that. 7 Liz's in a trench coat, exactly. Yes, thank you.
And they're all sitting on each other's shoulders chanting Mecha Shiva. Demon Liz Pillar.
You guys know what's up.
Liz has been practicing her handstands.
But, yeah, no, like, Liz Japan would be pretty good. Like, she has a sprite we hasn't been used. And also, we still haven't got, I don't think they're gonna do this, but there is the design for, like, Corroded Liz from Extella, which was interesting. Basically, Liz ate something that she shouldn't, and it really fucked her up. Good job, Liz. Stop putting weird rings in your mouth.
Yep. Yeah, that one I feel like, unfortunately, the way things go is that if they actually did do Corroded Liz, people would be like, huh? What?
I mean, to be fair, when has that stopped them? Remember when they did a pair of twins from a super obscure Type Moon title?
That is true. Type Moon does not necessarily care if the audience goes, what? Huh? I am kind of surprised we have not. I think it's because it is a short story that was like for a collection and is explicitly not tied to Fate or other Type Moon stuff anywhere. But I am kind of surprised we haven't gotten a straight up Tsukino Sango, Song of the Moon reference. Listen, I was saying like 8 years ago, maybe more, that yeah, Corroded Liz should be a moon cancer. And people fought me. People were in the comments fighting me. They were like, you can't have a moon cancer who's not BB.
Little did they know.
Yeah, exactly. Little did you know. And I'm sure we'll find out more about what the fuck that means next year in Audio Call 3.
The moon!
I love that this GIF. Sorry, Lucky posted a GIF of Gru rising up and saying, the moon! But I love that the GIF lasts just long enough for it also has his like look down reaction, be like, the moon? Good one.
Despicable Me is a great movie. I don't care what anyone says.
I mean, I think unfortunately the marketable Minions part of that franchise was done to death, but I believe the original one had heart, and I don't know. They made like 3 or 4 of them. Some of them were probably good.
I know for a fact the first 2 were good. I don't know about the other ones after that.
I mean, if you're
Actually,
Toy Story, they produced
Was that
3 good
DreamWorks?
ones. I think that was a DreamWorks production.
DreamWorks films are very hit or miss. They're either like really, really good or really, really mid. There's no in between. So enough on that.
Illumination.
Oh, Illumination. Okay.
Parent company Universal.
I might stick that on the movie list anyway, just because I like Despicable Me.
It's a good one, yeah.
I write it up there with fucking Ratatouille, which is like I think my favorite 3D Disney film.
Ratatouille is a good one. And hell, if we're going that route, that means it reminds me to put 3 of 4 Toy Stories on there.
I don't think I've never seen Toy Story 3 or 4 now that I think about it.
3 is good. 3 is a really good conclusion to the series, which makes it really weird that they came back for a 4th one.
Yeah, that's what I kind of understood. And I was like, what?
And then I think everybody universally agreed, like, as in the audience, that, like, yeah, we really didn't need a 4th one. It's like them working on another live-action Lion King film, and it's just like, who fucking asked? I guess we'll see. Lilo and Stitch made some money.
Yeah, it's because Lilo and Stitch made some money. Lucky's upset about this.
No, it's very unfortunate. I mean, for culture, I guess, not for Disney's bottom line. But I'm pretty sure, like, obviously, trends are not universal. It reminds me of, like, everybody going, like, oh, who even remembers Cameron's Avatar? That film had no cultural impact. The sequel will bomb. It will definitely not make back its money. No, it made a shitload of money. And it made him enough money that he's going forward with a 3rd one before too long.
I think he said he had, like, 4 planned.
It's I think it's pretty obvious with the way yeah, he was busy with a lot of projects. And was there like a technology thing or like a rights issue he was tangling with?
I think it was technology.
There was something going on that like kept him from making it. I wouldn't be surprised if it was tech based because the second one was the water one. And like, Chad, if you don't know, liquid sims are hard. Water is bullshit. And making water look good in CGI was probably a big hassle that James Cameron, who also is a fucking ocean guy, literally holds records for submarining and dives and shit, would probably want to make sure he gets correct. But no, yeah, if he's doing 4, it makes perfect sense, because the 3rd one's going to be fire, and then, are we going to count the first one as Earth, and then the last one will be air?
Sure.
Or maybe we'll count the first one as air, because it had the flying guys, and then the last one will be Earth. Who knows?
Lucky is adding more movies to the list. It's actually coming along. We got like 3 action films. We now have 7 animation films. We have 6 anime films, 8 comedy films, and 3 classic films.
Looked at it earlier. I need to add some. I don't know if we put them in probably science fiction. Need to put some old genre films in there though. Aliens, the original Predator. We don't need to watch Predator 2. We could, but we don't need to. We definitely do not need to watch Aliens 3 or Alien Resurrection.
Aliens and Predator. Do you want to put The Thing in science fiction?
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's that or horror, but The Thing is, that's a good one. Definitely deserves on the list.
Sorry, that's like my triumvirate of like early. I don't want to necessarily say horror, but just that thing. It's Aliens, Predator, and The Thing.
No, those are, I think, the like science fiction horror, and you've got like different levels. Like the original Predator is way more of an action horror. It's honestly was probably pretty subversive for its time because you've got like fucking wrestlers and like Schwarzenegger and stuff in it, and you're like, oh, it's gonna be an action movie, and it's like, no, actually, you're gonna watch these guys fucking die to an invisible alien. And of course, the original Alien is just a masterpiece in, hey, what if space was fucking scary?
Maybe it's closer to say they're thrillers.
That is a good way to put it. Yeah.
I was like, because I don't think like Aliens, Predators, or The Thing are necessarily as scary, but they do make you kind of grip your seat at times. I don't know. Lucky's never been good at classifying movies, and I've never been good with horror.
Honestly, I don't think horror fans or horror makers are good at defining horror. Bringing up are they thrillers is like, yeah, that's one of those things of like, most people can probably tell if they're in a thriller story because it's designed to like make you go, oh, nah, grip your seat and like your heart goes doki doki and shit like that. I think like original like horror stories and stuff are supposed to have that moment at the end where the what TV Tropes calls the tomato in the mirror type thing, where you have that moment where like you turn, or the screen turns to you and goes, isn't it horrible? And you go, it is horrible. But then also you've got like movies that people technically think of as like genre horrors, but are not necessarily horror and are much more about shock value in the classic slasher.
Yeah, I'm about to say, shock isn't necessarily scary. Shock is just gore and stuff and blood. I do not necessarily find that horrifying.
I think
I take that back. I usually find it horrifying in the fact that I realize how much time I have just wasted watching this damn movie.
I think there are some good films that split the difference. Like a really good classic zombie genre film kind of does both, right? Because it hits you with like the special effects to shock you, but also usually most of those stories are also like one of those makes you think, doesn't it, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Because secretly, most zombie movies are actually about man's inhumanity to man, chat. But no, throw genres are bullshit in my quotes for the day as well. God, the original Saw, that's another weird one. That's like, that probably is another like thriller shocker movie.
I could probably say genuinely like maybe the first Saw is good, but everything after that I'm just like, nah man, you have milked this to fucking death.
No, I mean that's not averse to the slasher style of movie making, well, I mean,
yeah, we gotta talk about like all the fucking, all the Jasons, all the Nightmare on Elm Streets, all the Halloweens.
And
for some reason,
for Halloween and Friday the 13th, it makes sense. But also, like I think at least for Nightmare on Elm Street, like Freddy Krueger was always way more like aware of his role in pop culture than other guys.
Oh, I mean, that made him funny. Like, like Nightmare on Elm Street is sometimes more entertaining than it is scary. And now, like, that also what happened to Chucky, based off, the original Child's Play.
Yeah.
Which was a terrifying movie, but then you go into just straight Chucky, and you're just like, what is this?
I think correctly, the Child's Play guys, like, realized, like, yes, on the one hand, murder doll possessed by the spirit of a serial killer through dark magic. Spooky. But also is inherently goofy as hell.
I think that's one of the reasons why, what was the modern one where it was like an AI robot doll,
Megan and Megan 2.0.
Yeah, like the first one they kind of was like they were kind of serious with it, but didn't take themselves too seriously. And then the second one they're just like, no, we're just literally having fun with this.
Honestly, that's hey creators, you're doing something creative. You should have a little fun. It's okay.
Yes.
I don't think the guys who made all the 9 million Friday the 13th and Halloween sequels were having fun. Well, sometimes they were having fun. Other times, I think they were literally just like, I have no idea what we're doing anymore. See, Jason X in Space, which I did watch in the middle of an afternoon on the Sci-Fi Channel, which is probably the correct way to watch Jason X in Space. But no, yeah.
Let me see here. So I added our animation. We put science fiction, Aliens, Predator, and The Thing. We got Rashomon, Seven Samurai, and Yojimbo for classic Kurosawa films in there. In comedy, we have Airplane, Caddyshack, Kung Pao Enter the Fist, Kung Fu Hustle, Naked Gun, Shaolin Soccer, Spaceballs, The Top Secret, In anime, we got Armitage the third OVA, Armitage the third Polymatrix, Armitage the third Dual Matrix, Ghost in the Shell, Ghost in the Shell Innocence, and Slayers the movie. In animation, we have American Tail, American Tail 5 Goes West, Cats Don't Dance, Despicable Me, Finding Nemo, Ratatouille, Toy Story 1 through 3. And in action, we have Hardcore Henry, The Raid, Redemption, and The Raid 2, Retaliation. So the list comes along. We'll continue adding to it as I think of movies.
Should put Black Magic M66 in the OVAs.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yes, that's right. You did mention Crocodile Dundee. We shall do that.
I saw a knife.
Crocodile. I don't know how to spell crocodile. What the? Oh, there's another O.
Croco.
Okay. Yeah.
Scientific name Crocodilius.
What'd you say it was? Black Magic what? 66?
Yeah, it's M66. Yes.
M66 OVA. Right on. It's in there now. We finally made it to page 2.
Shit's-
Page 2 just has the thing on it, which gives me a giggle. It's processed bits, X.
Thank you. I was just typing that out. We can work on that later when
Anyway.
they're fireable. But yes.
Yep. So, next comes Monster Girl Aficionado, who says, Dear Loki and Omega, no question this week, just sending good vibes. Whoa. Keep up the great work. P.S. Don't forget your PvP ladder. P.S. Oh dear, it was me Lucky was talking about. Oh well, it's funnier this way. Oh, he caught the Lucky ad Omega. Minor spelling mistake. I mentioned it earlier, so I forgot about it.
Listen, I said before, it's grammatically correct in Latin.
In Latin. So next comes soon to have all combat classes to level 50 and Final Fantasy XIV. Howdy, Lucky and Omega. Hope you're having a good week and a good time with our new Grail Front. Question: while I know I'm not as far as y'all in 14, I have to ask, what is your favorite /raid series is? Because I actually think the Omega Red series is my favorite so far, especially since Final Fantasy, stare at the numerals, 6? Yes. Is my favorite game of the series.
Oh, favorite raids? That's a hard one, honestly, to say for me. Because I do like the Near Alliance raids. The problem is just the Near Alliance raids are hard and long. Every time we get to the final, we get to the final boss at Terrors of Paradigm Breach, I ascend a little inside. You know, I just scream Yoko Taro, and I have feels.
And then you get hit with the Square Enix building.
Yeah. Like, all the raid series I feel like has something interesting to them. Like the Alexander raids have a really interesting story to them, and the fact that you're doing all these raids while like running around the giant Alexander mech is a very fun thing, and literally has some of the best music in all the raid series.
Yeah, I was gonna say the musical like through lines is like I know Soken feels like he really made it in Stormblood when he was able to do like the Four Lords, because like most of those are like mostly or entirely natively in Japanese, but like I feel like, I mean, Heavensward was when he took over the role as music director, like the main composer and head of the team, but that's when he started to flex the crazy style. Like the different musical collections you hear in the Alexander raids are very strong.
Oh yeah.
And I know that for a fact that the quote unquote time stop moment kills at the live show.
No, like every time the Primals play and they do, I can't remember, they actually have a scene and everyone fucking stops. It's great. But so yeah, no, it's like super iconic. Stormblood's Omega raids are interesting, but they hit much more in a, hey, yeah, so this is like, we're going through the Final Fantasy theme park some more. Here's some reimagining of some old things, which is fun, but unfortunately, much to my detriment, I will say this, much to my detriment, I haven't played much of the original, like, 6 Final Fantasies. So I don't know them that well. Most of the stuff I know is because I saw something in 14, goes, hey, what is that about? Then I go onto the Final Fantasy wiki and research it.
It's so very DiCaprio point, but it has its limits, too.
Yeah. It's like, fighting, the Phantom Train / the Doom Train. It's all like, hey, cool, that's that thing that, we always joke about the guy suplexing, but, I've never actually suplexed a train in my life, so it doesn't hit quite the same. I've never fought, like, Chaos or Kefka or, trying to think of the...
Oh my god,
other
we
ones.
got X-Death.
X-Death, that was the other one I was trying to think. But, so, it's like, it doesn't necessarily hit the same way. It is fun, like, the story is interesting in that you get to hit out with Sid, Miro, Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge, and all that, and you get, Alpha,
which is great, especially the fact that once you complete that raid series, Alpha and Omega Small just show up in the world adventuring, which I think is like such a little detail that is so minor, but yet so, at the same time, so big that you can just go around the world in Rosé and just sometimes you'll just see, you know, a tiny chocobo and a fucking Omega Million just hanging out.
It's really good for like the narrative through line of it. And also, of course, the Omega Raid series is important because it gave us Larboard Starboard.
Yes. Like, it's pretty memey. Like I said.
Also, I mean, we talked about this, but like, speaking about the music in that is also great. You know, obviously, you know, Escape has its very strong impact because we wouldn't get along Fall without it. But also just the final Omega Raid theme where just, as I think JoCat put it in a panel about Final Fantasy XIV's leitmotif, Omega steals your leitmotif.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's pretty cool. Like, the things we do with the music are really great.
No.
Like, me, obviously, for Alliance raids, I have to go to bat for Ivalice. Like, obviously, I mean, Math Boss is very trying to me personally. But, no, those are all really good. And, like, that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to when I do get around to playing Ivalice Chronicles, you know, the Tactics remake, is to look out for more of those details that are kind of, like, filtered through my own half-remembered memories from playing FFT, you know, a million years ago and not playing all of it. Yep. But that has some good setup as well from 12 and some of the other things going on. You know, it's pretty strong.
Honestly, like, I was like you're mentioning Alliance raids. I don't particularly have any strong feelings about Heavensward Alliance raids. We do them fairly often, and it does have some gut checks. I swear it is a fucking coin flip if people survive the first boss in Dunscape.
I feel like Dunscape specifically is a source of memes in our group, as we will always, after we defeat the second to last boss, it's like, okay, sweep time.
Sweep time. Yeah, you know, we have our memes, but
we have our jokes, but like Void Ark is like, eh.
Yeah, so like there's some memes in there, but nothing like really stands out. And Shadowbringers, like I said, the Nier. Because I am a Yoko Taro fan, I'm not going to say I'm the biggest Yoko Taro fan or, you know, I stand this, but I am fairly well acquainted with his lore, his work process, and, you know, some behind the scenes. So I see him doing stuff in 14, and that's, you know, that's me DiCaprio podium at, you know, this, that, and the other thing. So I really enjoy that. But as we mentioned before, the problem with the Nier raids is they're long and hard. It's gotten to the point that I'm so done with them that I will try to actively kill my Alliance members because it does not matter either way. I think which one is that? Is that's
Puppet's Bunker.
Yeah, it's Puppet's Bunker, where, you know, you're divided up into 3 groups and you can basically shoot up the enemy's team with the laser. If I get the marker, I'm shooting an enemy team. Is that a complete dick move to do? Yes, it is, but I'm doing it anyway because these fights are long and annoying, and I want some levity in this. And to be fair, people do it to whatever alliance group I'm into.
Assassinated several times. Yeah, no, it's like that's the thing, right? They're cool, and they're especially really cool the first time you're doing them, and then it's kind of like you do them like the third or fourth time, and you're just like, "Yep, we're here again." That's really cool.
Has a lot
Angles,
of HP.
I'm gonna be doing this and this. You know, you're like, "Yeah, Angles, you're real cool. You got 2 phases. You're not even the last fucking boss fight." Johnny, you get to the last boss fight, I'm just like, don't you do that phase again, you little son of a bitch.
I will say, though, while the Nier raids just use a lot of music directly lifted from Nier, the fact that Soken did get in there and make, you know, some original tracks with Weight of the World, Soken's version is so good. What was the other one he did? Oh, I can't remember. He did a few. He basically remixed a few of the. Excuse me.
I said, is there a Soken remix of Kind's theme?
I don't know. Fun fact: there are like 6 versions of Kind's theme already.
It's also true.
I would know because I have the 6 vinyl collection of Nier. So, yeah, but
yeah, it's real good. The Eden raids are also like both. Also, hey, actually, complete aside, we can talk about this now, so we don't. Because I didn't write it down, I would forget in free talk. But the Eden raids are also really important. If you're curious who the Final Fantasy XIV representative in this new Dissidia game they announced is, she's technically optional, but I think they needed more melee characters. But yeah, they announced they're doing a new Dissidia. Unfortunately, so far it just says iOS and Android only. which I'm like, Square, I don't know if this video game will run on my phone.
I was kind of hoping they do a console PC release.
I
do not have to be afraid of the console PC for your fucking free to play mobile titles.
No, I mean fucking Hoyo does it all the time, and they're super successful.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Gaia is designed by Nomura, which is nice, but also it works out for the game. But yeah, the Eden is really cool for a lot of concepts. Also, we do a lot of fun music stuff there, and of course the jokes. I think the jokes we can even say out of context. Jay, how many wheels did Titan have? Was it 2 or 4? I believe it's 4.
The Eden raids had like a really good story, a really good follow up on the Shadowbringers story, and I really do think that they really helped to cement Reen's personality and character, and give her a very good dynamic with Gaia, which is something that I'm always like, I always want. Give me more of it. Give me more. I'm going back to the first. I'm going to go see my daughters. You can't stop me.
I'm really hoping we do a little bit more with that. Now that she's
same. So it's
Dissidia
just like
headliner.
one of those things of like,
yeah, no, Eden's like super important.
no.
I mean, music wise, like, well, there is some pretty good stuff. I feel like it's very thematically appropriate for Endwalker, but the Pandemonium raids are a little weird.
They're a little weird, yes. They have some, I think though, like, at the time, I do think they had some of the best boss fight designs, though. Like,
yeah,
Endwalker, I think, is upping that bar a little bit, I think. Not by much, but they're content-wise, the fights are bigger and better. But at the time, the Pandemonium raids were doing a lot of crazy stuff, like, right out the gate.
And the 12 raids, the Alliance raids, are also, like, one, again, talking about music. Very strong, iconic music themes there as well, but also a lot of stuff going on. I do kind of feel like, this was mentioned in chat earlier, they're not all done, so I can't say they're my favorite, but the Arcadian raids, the normal raids for Dawn Trail, are also, like, really good. Again, not just in terms of, like, the theming is all really good. Hey, chat, did you know that Black Cat's boss theme has notes that will come back later in Wicked Thunder's boss theme?
No, the
it's a whole fucking
good,
thing. I think Fenrir's theme has some of Give It All's notes in it, too. Like, we're so cool. And also, it's a fucking wrestling storyline, literally.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's like, the storyline isn't crazy, but if you just treat it like it's an actual wrestling storyline, it makes perfect fucking sense.
No, it's great. Unfortunately, I do kind of feel like much like we talked about with the Omega raids earlier, the Echo Savannah deal raids are a little bit kind of like, okay, that's cool. Like, it seems like they're doing a lot with 11, and there's a lot of interesting things they're showing off, but also it is just kind of like me nodding, going, okay, that's nice.
Yeah, no, I'm not like trying to diss 11 or anything, but it's just one of those things of like, cool, I guess this is a thing. Fun fact,
also,
though, 11 is
Shadow
still
Lord
going strong because
yeah.
It does have a big enough player base that Square Enix decided against turning off the servers and continuing at least basic support.
Yeah, they're still ongoing. I think they just celebrated like 30 years?
Yeah.
25 years,
so,
something like that. It's strong going.
Final Fantasy 11 player base, that's your win, guys. So,
and if there are any 11 players out there, you tell me how your guys' showdown with Shadow Lord went, because that guy does still blow our ass up sometimes. That guy's mean. Fucking triple moon cleaves.
But like I said, like picking out a favorite, like I don't want to sound like I'm indecisive, but I like. There are some that, I don't particularly feel strong on, and there's others that I just like them for different reasons. So it's hard for me to always just be like, no, this one's my fave.
No, like I said, I have to go to bat for the Evil East Alliance raids just because that's me. I'm that guy. But no, they're all like really good. Even it's like I can't even be. I want to joke like, oh, we could say we have a least favorite, and it's like it's Crystal Tower. But even that, like I like Crystal Tower. Like they're early. But they do actually, first of all, a lot of the musical notation is relevant later. They're literally plot required for reasons. And not only is it a big send-up of FF3, but there are, like, ongoing lore implications that are really interesting. Also, they are, though, the first Alliance raids, so they're, like, way longer and more fiddly than they need to be. And because everybody has done them to death, your party in the Alliance is going to be a mix of people who've done them 9 billion times and just turn their brain off, and then because they're story required, you also get a decent chance that you're going to be full of sprouts who have no idea what they're doing. So they're like, can be very annoying to do.
Fun times. I think if I have
ABC's
to pick, I have to pick due to a combination of interesting story, mechanics, and music. It has to be the near raids for me. Like, the fights are hard, and I do think the bosses have too hard, but they do not lack for mechanics. Like, you got to think and you got to do stuff. And like I said, the music's
Honestly,
good. The story with the twins is pretty good
as well.
We also talk about the jokes. Ah, yes, the corpse room, the room with the corpses. How could I forget that? So.
Well, hey, Robin, spoilers for you. I can explain it to you. That's his gaze, is how you get Doom. When you get the Doom, you have to step in the glowy circle. I'm pretty sure there are people who know to step in the glowy circle who don't, and just the healer will fix them. But just don't look at him, Fivehead. And the problem with and it's Angramanyu is the name of the boss. The problem with that guy is the fucking line attack he does centered on the tank. So if you get the tanks fighting over aggro, that fucker spins. I keep shooting giant laser beams out of his face.
It's like playing Russian roulette with a monster, man.
That was honestly that's the original of the fucking get the other alliances killed and near is spin angry mango around. It's just not as much of a guarantee because it's a much smaller radius.
It's true.
There's also the joke we make in fucking World of Darkness where I'm like, what new mechanics will I see from the five-headed dragon this week?
Oh my goodness. I'm just thinking about the time, like, doing these fights before we had the stat squish, and we would literally bully bosses down before we got, like, anywhere into the mechanics. Just because we're just, like, going through that stuff like a chainsaw. This is one of those reasons why I always have a hard time, like listening to people complain about stuff, and I'm up to complain about stuff. I'm just all like, do you know how it used to be? It used to be way worse. I count my blessings. I don't count my curses.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Like, obviously, some people will be like, they look at it and they go, oh, well, I liked how it sucked. I wanted to go back to sucking that way. We don't need to go into it again right now, but there is a whole thing of the psychology of we've talked about a lot about how some gamers unfortunately build their self-image too much in the idea of like, no, this sucks, but I overcame the suckage. That's me. I'm the one who doesn't suck. And it's just
Omega, should anime children go into animation or anime?
Ooh. Anime children? It's 3D.
You know what? I'll put it in anime. It's Final Fantasy VII. But I was just thinking about more movies, and I'm just like, you know what? Advent's Children. It has some bitchin' ass fight scenes. Yeah.
Also, Archive also had that Arc saying someone min-maxed the Cerberus fight by like holding the chain, and then they hold it too long, and he enrages, and we wipe. Don't bother, guys. This is fucking level 50 content. We can do it. But yeah, no. Some people build their self-image of them as gamers as succeeding against all odds. Generally, though, I do think some people do not realize how bad things used to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they just don't understand. We actually had... Oh, was it on? I think it was on stream. Yeah, it was on stream on 14 this week. We were just jawing because we did the deep dungeon basically all the way until we got to floor 40, and that guy fucking killed us.
Blam.
Beat our ass. He did not have to spend extra effort, so that's what we'll have to tackle later. But we spent a lot of time just jawing. There was a decent amount of Digimon tangent because even though Law said he wasn't going to show up, and he didn't log into 14, he did show up for like an hour of the stream to just chat and hang. But we also spent some time talking about like job design stuff, and talking about how I do think there are some things we could do to make improve jobs and to solidify job identity, quote unquote. Generally, I think jobs are pretty good. I haven't yet to play any Final Fantasy 14 job where I hate myself pushing buttons. There's some jobs I'm out of practice and I feel kind of like I don't know what I'm doing. And there are, jobs I'm like, it's Paladin. Paladin is the job I'm thinking of. But Paladin is there's too many fucking buttons. I have too many things I can do. But most of them play pretty good. And I am pretty sure there have been times when some of these jobs used to be way more tedious. They were not fun to play. I don't actually know how the practicality of it went, but the things I've heard about, they simplified tanking. You used to have tank stance and then not tank stance to do damage. And it's like...
Oh, yeah, those were back the days when we had TP.
Yeah. And
which was the not magic resource.
Yeah, before they just gave everybody MP and then some jobs just don't use it.
Yep.
But that, gotta be honest, doesn't sound fun. That does sound more strategic. That sounds like you have to think more. But that doesn't sound as fun as just turn on tank stance. All right, we're tank stancing. Now we have to figure out if we're pulling aggro.
Tank stance.
And you still, even with simplified tank stancing, you still, quote-unquote, fuck it up sometimes. Like, you'll get tanks, fighting over the aggro, or just the way enmity works is that, the tank doesn't quite pull it right away.
Oh, excuse me. Nah, shit weird sometimes, Captain. But, we can probably stop talking about 14 for now. Unless there's anything else you want to add at the last moment there, Omega?
No, I think we're good.
Alrighty. So, with that, we are going to move, swiftly on. So, our next one comes from Soul of Lightmore Discord, who says, Dear Fighting by Evil Moonlight. Fighting evil by moonlight lucky, and Omega is winning love by daylight. Heh. Once again, no question this week, just suffering from being the last stubborn person on Earth, trying to play FGO on an iPod Touch while it crashes on all these Grail Fronts. Have a good vibe. Beam! P.S. What Sailor Scout would Ptolemy'S be? I'm thinking Mercury, because Burke Nerd. Sure. Man, I haven't watched me a Sailor Moon in, 20 years. I used to watch it on, Toonami, back when they were went into their, first generation, when it was still Moltar. Do y'all remember Moltar? I remember Moltar.
Chat might remember Moltar, because I think we brought it up before. But they might have forgotten.
That's not Moltar. Are there seriously no gifs of Moltar? What?
Possibly not. Possibly not.
Man, you can watch whatever you want. If you want to watch, a bunch of high school girls saving the world through love and magic, fucking go for it.
Yeah, it's one of those things of
Guys, I'm gonna be real. There are people here who, are, who shill Pokemon and Digimon, which are, very much clearly, and fucking Tokusatsu, which are very, shills aimed at young children. And they feel no shame. Watch what you want, man.
Yeah, I do kind of feel like, talking about Tokusatsu, right? I think Kamen Rider's usually aimed at, a slightly older demographic. But I know some people here stand for Sentai, which definitely feels like several of those shows have been aiming for, a lower level. And, Pokemon's got a good anime, too. But, also, no, not really. There's not really a difference between, because, kids are kids.
Yeah.
The kind of, interpolation, right, of, the genre-ing. I do think the original Sailor Moon was, technically not aiming for the demographic, but also it doesn't really matter, because demographics are fake. They're not real. It turns out that, if you make a show, about action, even if it stars girls, boys will still watch it. And so long as you don't, try to psyop anybody about being oh, this is for girls, kids don't usually notice. There can be certain things that are you look at it and you go, no, this doesn't feel right. But usually, the way, anime demographics work, like I said, I think in America they build it as trying to be for girls. But it's no, the demographic splits would be much more it's still a magical girl anime, and one of the classics is that, if you're actually talking about, shoujo versus fucking, shonen, split, I think something that may actually, catch the demographics, of your audience better would be, certain forms of slice of life romance type stuff, right? That is something that I think generally young boys are less interested in following along.
Not lucky.
The pre. Well, I mean, when you're still in the girls have cooties phase, you're just no, I don't understand.
Oh yes, no. When you don't have the patience to not understand what's going on,
and but then when you get older, it still works. Chat's already brought up a bunch of examples. The whole brony craze.
Guys, I'm gonna be also. I wanna put this out here. The magical girl genre is very broad. It's you go from anywhere from Sailor Moon to Madoka Magica to fucking Yuki Yuna is a hero. You got fucking Precur and oh god, what was that? What was that magical girl Soka, which was older magical girls, but they have fucking guns. Magical girls is a whole spectrum in genre that you can find a bunch of crazy shit from. Prisma Ilya, technically a magical show, but it's a Fate series. Maybe it went a little weird, but
be taking the piss a little bit, or at least the first season was, because I think it was based on a. I think it was originally a fucking April Fool's pitch from Type Moon, and then went in there. There's quite a lot in the genre to pick from. Even some of the classics, also, by the way, I think they
Cardcaptor Secure is also another good one.
I feel like talking about magical girls, that's defining the mecha genre, right, as well. You go far enough back, magical girl shows are weird. I think there's a genuine debate for which is the actual first magical girl show. I'm pretty sure it is Cutie Honey.
If we're
I
talking
think that
about
is-
someone who has
is actually the original?
a magical transformation, I think that is Cutie Honey. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where there's like debates. Like for Mecha, there's like a whole like developmental cycle, right? Of like, well, is Astro Boy a mecha anime or manga? I mean, like, kinda, but he's not like extra large size, and so it's like, you've got like Gigantor, and then I think it was Mazinger, which was the first like piloted giant robot, because there was a whole genre of giant robots that were either free range or were like psychically controlled by a child from a distance.
I think that came out after like the post Godzilla craze of giant things are cool.
Yeah,
they really didn't get into the put the thing in it. Actually, if I remember correct, like I have to double check like when this has, but I have to check up when the Japanese Spider-Man came on in reference to other such things, because the Japanese Spider-Man, I say it that way because the way that they ran was actually a lot of firsts in tokusatsu / slum or genres, and they did like a lot of genre firsts. Like, I can't remember exactly what it was, if it was the combining robot or Spider-Man actually piloting the mech that was first, but I can't remember his name all of a sudden.
Japanese TV series of Spider-Man was
79.
Production release 1978.
Let's see here. The first aired episode of Mobile Suit Gundam was 79. Let's see.
Right, if we're talking about that, that's another one that's like Gundam launched the quote unquote real robot genre.
Yeah.
Never mind that Gundam is also full of. Gundams are more realistic than the kind of like do anything super robots of the previous decades, but also there's literal space magic in Mobile Suit Gundam. Like, what is a new type, guys? There's space magic. There's space magic with like that thing that makes the new type flash sound, which is a very specific instrument I don't know the name of.
I hear it. I heard it. Son of a bitch.
Yeah, you can hear it.
You just say the new type sound. It's like ding. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, you hear it in your mind. Hopefully, someone out there, if I talk about Gallant Char, somebody hears the trumpets. God, it's kind of a shame that the I know it was a hero shooter, but the Gundam game could have been cool, but they let it die after a year. Sunrise, Bandai Namco. Try maybe a single player focused game like that. But yeah, no.
No, but like I said, genre
a lot of genre crossovers.
Like, generally, especially with nowadays, when we people start doing subversions and parodies and stuff, you can basically find just about anything in like a genre. So got our anime manga chat was going absolute apeshit earlier because Gushing Over Magical Girls finally came off of hiatus, that show is very weird. It's a good manga. I like it. I'm probably gonna read one of it. It's fucking weird though.
I mean, you want to talk about like
it's a complete subversion of the Magical Girl subtype with a healthy layer of eroticism and sexual discovery on top of it. But it's still good. It's wild.
I will also say, talking about like being weird, like that's another thing that got covered, I think, in our anime manga chat earlier, as like they're doing a biography of Sakurai, the game designer, in manga form.
Yeah, why not? Well, I have the capacity to make glass myself, so if you're going to start trying to charge me for Glacier Ice, I'm just going to be like, all right, I'm just going to make glass.
Yeah, I don't think there's a demand for Glacier Ice in its native form. Though, I mean, there's some of it on the mountain right next to us, but Glacier Ice is a non-renewable resource that would be nice for all my cooling vessels I've made, which keeps stuff fresh longer.
Hot and fresh. But
if Loth ever makes some of those, he might want some pre-cut ice.
He might. But yeah, no. Make manga biographies. That's cool. It's like I do like maybe a little wonder if we're like maybe teaching people not to read like fucking novels and go for like manga stuff. But as much as I like reading, but I also like manga too. I also like listening. I like audiobooks.
Reading is important. I think that honestly, actually, I don't know how true it is, but I've heard some things about it. But I think literally like the reading goals in America not being hit was because we tried to like pivot our fucking reading lessons. The long and short of it is, for a little bit, they stopped teaching the phonics system. They tried to move away from that for teaching basic reading to like actually teaching whole words. And a lot of textbook manufacturers got behind that, which makes it really hard to go against it. But then guess what? People have not been reading as good because most students learn very, very well if you teach them how to phonetically pronounce words. Even if English is dumb, you get basic phonics, you catch most of it.
I can muddle my way through a word.
But apparently this had been going on long enough that it's, affecting, like, people who are in their late teens to their adults. And I have actually seen some people online, like, struggle with words where they just say words wrong. They, like, look at a word, they read it, and they just guess, and it's an entirely different word. And I'm just like, how did that work? Well, it's probably because they were, at some point, probably taught not how to do the sounding out thing. That's how I learned to read chat, is just, like, string sounds together. And if you don't know what a fucking word is, you just look at it and go...
That's what Lucky does.
A little conversation I was having with you earlier, Lucky. I was like, shit, is it cementation or is there an R in it? Is it cement? I was like, no, it's cement. It's like, yes. We were like, I don't remember what this is, but it gets out there. But I do think, as always, that has affected some of our like literacy and reading goal rates. But generally, no, reading is pretty strong, and I think there's still a decent amount of people for the text-given medium. I do think, given that, like, big fan fiction hitters are still going. NaNoWriMo, like, blew themselves up last year by accepting AI submissions, and I think everybody was like, nah, another cooked.
Yeah, we done now. Fuck you guys.
Interesting. Okay.
Hideo, like, I agree with Hideo Kojima on this. AI is a friend to help you with your projects, not someone to do the project for you.
Yeah, he had a pretty good take of just, like, being like, listen, it's a thing that exists. I've heard of creators, like, using it to come up with ideas wholesale. He didn't say that's stupid and dumb, but he was just like, that's not what I would do. I would consider it a friend to help you out, or a tool to bounce ideas off of, something that you work with and then you build off of. And it's like, yeah, sure. I'm sure you can use ChatGPT to like brainstorm random stuff. God knows that I've used like pre-written random tables before, right? So a computer algorithm that pre-randoms the tables for me, like when I ask live, is like, that's not that crazy. But actually being like, ChatGPT, write this tabletop adventure for me. God knows how many fucking... Because tabletop RPGs don't make any goddamn sense. No idea how that would go. Also, just as an aside, I would not rely too heavily on the ongoing business of LLMs for everything, because that is a bubble. It is going to explode. NVIDIA is not worth $3 trillion. Because eventually some investors are going to ask for some of that fucking money back, and they're going to be like, well, we're not actually have $3 trillion. And then a lot of this AI industry stuff is unfortunately very incestuous. It's a lot of like money bouncing back and forth. So it's going to explode. And if you tell me, oh no, it won't explode, chat, I regret to inform you, I've lived through several bubbles in my life. I was alive through the .com bubble, and I was alive through the real estate bubble in America. That one really sucked. Money is not infinite. It does not go up forever. You cannot just accept people's investment money forever and not eventually pay them back out. And if you say you're worth fucking $3 trillion and you're not actually worth $3 trillion, it's going to be a problem, especially because you're not going to have regular customers. Because a lot of the people who are really hooked on AI, like, I know that like AI companies are trying to get creatives to invest more in it, but I think a lot of the people who are hooked on AI are broke-ass high schoolers and college kids who are not a good customer base for your expensive subscription-based service that they can't run on their own computers they can't afford because you bought all the fucking GPUs. So, yeah, I don't know when it's going to explode. I mean, it's not a Ponzi scheme in the sense that, like, it's not a literal trick to, like, get you to invest all your money, like, to the top. It's not like a multi-level marketing. It's just... It is an investment strategy like tech companies to take all this money to get in, and, they are planning on doing a return. The problem is that the return is not infinite. Also, unfortunately, I think some of the like, tech side of the LLM and AI stuff is also, like, there are people who just have AI psychosis, for lack of a better term, right? And they just assume that if they just make the AI powerful enough and fast enough, it will just become God and solve everything for them. And, like, listen... I'm all for interesting aspects of transhumanism and stuff, but like, just being like, no, it'll solve itself when we build the AI God machine. No, it won't. There's like literally hundreds of years of humans exploring that concept through fiction about how that's not going to work. Never mind that there's plenty of practical instructions on, because expert systems and forms of machine learning have existed for quite a long time. There's already a bevy of industry standards. I don't actually know how far back the quote goes, but it's pretty old, the idea of somebody saying, because a machine cannot be held responsible, a machine cannot make a management decision. That's at least, I think, from last century. And unfortunately, that's, I shrug my hands, I look at the sky.
Mhm.
I hope that reading and interest in the written word will improve. Because reading is dope, y'all.
Reading is dope.
Constantly tell myself.
Lucky needs to get on working on his fucking novel one day. I'll get there eventually, along with making my fucking Monster Girl life sim and my fucking and writing my space opera fucking tabletop RPG. Lucky has a lot of projects in his head. He just does not have the fucking attention span to do them. It's all. Yes, also my critically acclaimed VS mod series. Thank you. No, the Monster Girl board game has turned into the Monster Girl life sim.
I think it's still going to be it may still have card-based mechanics, but Lucky went through a lot of iteration on that project.
Like I said, I still have notes on that project, and I still futz about them on the regular. It's just, they're written down. I haven't actually put it in because, actually, honestly, maybe working on the vintage story mod will help me, like, get over this fear of coding I have. It's one of those things.
Yeah.
Also, now that I have, like, removed, like, oh god, how many gacha games did I drop? Like, 5? I'm just down to Nikkei and, FGO. I'll finally have some time to actually sit down and, like, fucking work on that stuff.
Yeah, I should commit more to my... I'm glad that I actually finished the thing for Rain. I should commit more to finishing more writing projects.
No, Lucky wants to write fiction, and I want to make games. Also, I need to get back into art. How are these sexy ladies going to exist if I do not draw them myself? I don't got money to pay artists.
The true combination of both the creative drive and the capitalistic dystopia. I can't pay somebody to do it. Fuck it, I'll do it myself.
Yeah, but that was a bit of a tangent. I just realized. Good job, Lucky. Where were we?
We're moving on to our last mailbag.
On this because we were talking about fucking, can older guys watch a Magical Girl show? Yes, you can. Full stop.
You can watch anything.
As long as it's not illegal.
There's a whole concept of the peripheral demographic. Lots of shows have universal appeal.
Lucky likes talking also, unfortunately. And unfortunately, Omega likes talking. So when we both start talking, conversations go a very long time.
Yeah, hold on. Let me go to my tab where I keep all the audio of the episodes. Let me scroll down. Hold on. How many of these we got? It's 400 something. This is episode 406. And that's not even counting our fucking side gig shows we've experimented with. We've done several of those.
We're wild sometimes.
We like talking, and apparently a decent number of people like listening.
Thank you for that, everybody.
Yeah, no, I know that we're not, like, crazy cracked on YouTube, but the fact that we have, multiple thousands of subscribers and get, like, at least hundreds of views every week, it's like, that's crazy that some of y'all put up with us for this long. We appreciate it deeply.
Very much so. So, very last one, but not the very least one. This one comes... Ah! Sorry, a drifter fell on my head.
They do that. A drifter has a really good sense of comedic timing.
Lucky is usually pretty good with his comedy, but sometimes shit just happens, and I do not hold back the reaction. Anyways, last but not least, this one comes from Secret Society Navigator, who says, Dear Mech Rabbit Lucky, that's Mech with a K, by the way, and Lord Sword Omega, simple but perhaps complicated question for the both of you. What do you think is supplemental material that you feel it requires a... Hang on. Let me look at this better. What do you think is supplemental material that you feel is required to enjoy a specific franchise, or even some cases of it's more enjoyable than the base material? For example, Warhammer or any other wargaming having novels or video games, and those being more fun for some than the actual wargame. Another example is the L5R detective novels. Daidoji Shin, please go read them. They are very good and are a very good look into the L5R setting.
Speaking of more books, I need to buy. I'm pretty sure he's written like 2 more of those since I last got one.
Yeah. So you both enjoyed. Well, I hope I didn't answer my own question. Have a good evening, and hopefully the Vintage Story Story lets Mega actually walk without his head exploding from frustration.
It has been better today, so I'm hopeful.
Yes. This is somewhat of a simple but complicated question, because you're basically asking, what franchise do you basically use something from the side, which, helps you enjoy the setting more? I do think that the Warhammer, talking about shit, is this a fucking giant-ass vein of brown coal that I found? Yes, it is. I'm just gonna... I could sell it to Omega NX.
Probably.
I feel less bad about being mean about my charcoal now. Yes, Warhammer. Warhammer, very, based on, on little plastic men that people want to buy, but they've expanded their stories into, video games, novels, tabletop RPGs, and whatnot. And like I said, me, I have sworn up and down, left and right, and, every day of the week and twice on Sunday, I'm not getting into Warhammer. 40K. And for the most part, I have not gotten into Warhammer. I still know very little about the setting, but through osmosis and insistence on other things, I've picked things up. I am still never going to play the fucking war game, and no one is ever going to make me. Ever. That requires way too much thinking, way too much time, and way too much investment for what is ultimately going to be me getting my ass kicked by someone who is way more skilled at the game and spent way more time and money on it. I'm not doing it. You can't make me.
Yeah.
Like, if I get Warhammer figures because I'm like, oh my god, check out these 6-star battles, they're so cool. Or, orcs, they're so cool, I'm going to paint them, put them on a shelf, leave them fucking there. It's like, oh, is that your army? It's like, no, I just bought those because they're cool.
And when it was first launched, 40K and the original Warhammer Fantasy were like, Games Workshop definitely was in this for what would be called the hobby business, right? Like, the whole thing was a hobby. Like, yeah, you could play with the minis, but also you paint them. You were much more encouraged to kit bash and, like, make your own edits to sculpts and stuff, and kind of, like, work out a few things. These days, like, it's much more of, like, well, a modern franchise business where, like, even in the tabletop war game, like, Games Workshop is cracking down on, like, no, you can only include the, like, weapon options that are displayed on miniatures or optional miniatures that are in the boxes we sell, shit like that. This character is specifically this character, he's no other characters, kind of a thing. Which some, I think, makes their war game, like, more simplified, so it's easier for them to balance, because classically they've had many problems balancing them.
I'm gonna mount them on top of Tyranids, I'm gonna call them the Booty Blasters.
That's a classic, I think, from even back and did a whole.
Oh yeah, no, that's when you were telling me. That was when you were telling me when you were first explaining, like, Warhammer to me, and I'm like, I don't get it.
Yeah. And, like, so many big rules, but yeah, they've, like, tried to simplify it. It makes it so you have to buy more product, but also it does make the game, like, simpler to enjoy. They've always had a strong sense of what might be called fluff. But I definitely think that, like, the storytelling stuff has evolved way more in novels and side projects in video games, where it feels like individual authors and game companies get to be more creative than even Games Workshop feels like they can be, because, like, well, they can't fuck shit up too much because, like, we have all these products and lines we need to keep selling and expanding and sell more. Buy new minis. Buy.
Like I said,
but we're just a weirdo guy. We're just a weirdo guy. We're definitely not a top 10 company in the UK. This is actually true, by the way. Games Workshop is, like, a significant portion of, like, the UK economy. They're a very big company. But like, yeah. So I think 40K is a good example for that. And it's funny. In this question, L5R was brought up, right? I don't actually think the Daidoji Shin novels are, like, necessary to follow along with L5R, though they are one of the few projects that's still ongoing. I do believe they are finally releasing their Clan War series of novels, which is a callback to the first version of the continuity before FFG bought it. The Clan War was, like, the first big event in the card game, the original card game. But they bought the franchise. They did a living card game. They did new RPG. They did lots of stuff. Daidoji Shin is kind of written almost, like, agnostic to ongoing timeline events. I feel like the author just, like, they handed him, like, current and even old RPG source books, or he just goes on the ancient wiki, whenever he needs, like, research material, and just kind of, like, comes that. So it feels very good because it is a very organic approach to all the lore. But
you don't have to go in knowing, like, historical events. I think that's one of the reasons why I kind of like first and only Gaunt's Ghost, like the only Warhammer the 40K novel that I've listened to, because while they still use all the terms and stuff, I never felt like I am necessarily lost in this in the story about what is happening. And Daidoji Shin does the exact same thing.
Kind of coming in. The like important quote unquote side material that was almost the primary material was back in the day when FFG was doing, they were first releasing the RPG, their new edition of the RPG, and they were doing the living card game. They were releasing regular web fiction to, like, keep everybody updated with the story as sets came out and kind of, like, establish, the major characters, the major stakes in the world and stuff. Very old school RPG and card game lore type stuff. There were a couple of events that they did, integrate, like, tournament results or things going on. They actually did something fun with the RPG where they ran a a con module that eventually became a standalone module you can buy. But they decided on the canonical ending of the adventure based on what the majority of players at events did for like a year.
Oh, interesting.
So like that, and that's kind of a callback to the way AEG used to do those sorts of things. But yeah, no, when the card game was coming out and when they were first doing the RPG, like, nah, you had to check on the website to see if they posted some new fiction because that would actually have like ongoing stuff. And now they're I think they're, like I said, they're building up to like an ongoing story arc. But like all the novellas they released were like actual big ongoing events and stuff. And like, so if you were following along, especially if you were following on with the card game version, yeah, no, you probably wanted to be reading the fiction so you could keep track of like who these characters are that are showing up in your cards and like what's going on. But that's not really the case of where like the franchise is right now. I'm trying to think, like, what are other like examples of like side stuff? Because like sometimes you get cases where like they're both in the same franchise but are separate. Like I think because it's going around right now, like, and we had that conversation on Wednesday. But like Digimon is really interesting because they have quite a few anime series, and you know they have a new one coming out. But also, if you want to enjoy like Time Stranger, you don't need to actually watch the anime. You'll probably do some pointing if you see some anime Digimon. Oh, the Digimon's airing now. Okay, I didn't realize it started.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah,
I've seen it.
So like those are technically the same franchise, but are completely separate. So I would say they are not examples of this, right? Because they're not like integrated. You know, they are technically completely separate but shared.
Actually, on that, would you say FGO counts?
Ooh, yeah, FGO's an interesting one. Yeah, obviously Nasu himself is kind of like, actually, yeah, chat's saying it right now. You know, everything is canon. Nasu himself has very particular opinions about like retconning and alternate continuity and stuff, or like changing continuity. So he's just like, fuck it, everything's a multiverse. Anything that's different universe. Don't care. But yeah, no, you're right that like FGO in a lot of ways has become bigger and badder than some of the source materials, some of which we still don't fucking have. Hey, chat, not really a spoiler because I don't know if it will come up at all in this Grail Front, but he talks about some of these things in his background. But Old Man Ptolemy'S is in Adventures of El Meloy, like the follow-up after Case Files, and it's like, man, I don't know if we're gonna get those because they're light novels ever, you know? Like, if they don't adapt them, whatchamacallit, like if they don't adapt them to an anime, I think the joke I made in Wanted was we might get half an anime about Adventures of El Meloy in 2030.
Maybe.
Because even the Case Files anime didn't adapt all of Case Files.
And then they took some creative liberties with it.
I mean, yeah, they changed some stuff up, and they even did some anime original stories, which I feel like wasn't necessarily like bad of them to do some anime original work to kind of like set up the characters, but it is still a case of like, well, we're still not getting the original light novels. So yeah, FGO is kind of like this big, great secondary thing that's going its own way, has its own characters so much that like I feel like their characters fucking re-cameo. Speaking of Case Files, you know, which has Olga Mary in it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, it's definitely, I think, easier to approach, or historically has been easier to approach FGO than some other entries in Type Moon's database. Obviously, with Fate's Stay Night remastered on Steam, that's less true these days. But it's definitely something to think about.
Definitely something to think about. Oh, like what? I'm trying to think of like franchises that I'm like super big on that has like secondary material that like either overshadows the source or greatly enhances the source.
Yeah, it's weird because, like, if you'd asked me this, like, 10 years ago, I could have said Star Wars, right? Because, like, that was the time when, like, the prequels were not hidden gems, you know? And also the Clone Wars hadn't come out. So, like, in between major movie releases, it was all side stuff. It was all, you know, niche video games and novels and comics and shit that George Lucas certainly barely took as canon, if at all. And often, you know, didn't necessarily, you know, mesh back, but we're still, you know, greatly appreciated. I've talked about this before. I reread the Rogue Squadron and Wraith Squadron, the X-Wing novels, like, every year. So, like, but now Disney's approach to the Star Wars continuity is very different, and they still have some really good side supplemental content, but the way they do stuff has a very different vibe, because they're trying to do the MCU thing where everything is fucking part of the continuity all the time.
Well, if we want to talk about video games, like, I think this may make some people mad, but I do think the Persona series is kind of that. While SMT is still very popular and does have so many games, Persona was so popular that it basically was able to spin out into its own franchise. That now has its own, side games and, and quirky handheld titles. And its own fucking gacha game.
Has several anime adaptations. Been readapted and stuff. Yeah,
well,
I also thought
that. Railgun is pretty good, but from what I understand, I do think that people like a certain magical index just as much. And there are, like, additional spiners, like a certain, scientific accelerator? What was the other one?
I think that's the one, yeah. Yeah, Railgun's interesting because, like, obviously that was a spin-off they did because they took a very popular character from Index, but they're still fairly interrelated. I'm trying to think, like, what are other? There are probably some animes where you definitely see that.
There's definitely. I'm trying to think of some animes where, like, maybe like a side character got a show and it became like super fucking popular. I know it exists. I just can't think of it off the top of my head.
I mean, God knows that's definitely happened with like live action TV too. That's that whole the joke about the backdoor pilot and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like you're watching a show and then a popular character gets a spin-off that's better. The problem is I'm trying to think of like because the original criteria is something that's like much more enjoyable or even like stronger where the side is than the main, and it's like is there a lot of those? That is rarer.
Wasn't NCIS a spin-off of Jag? I can believe that.
Oh, actually, no. I think you're right. Yeah, I think it was.
That would
the
definitely
NCIS
count,
characters
though.
were like that was when Jag needed to cross over with like the Navy, and then they were just like, fuck it, our own show. 11 billion seasons.
Yeah. No, that one would definitely count. Jag was popular, but it was never NCIS popular. Let's see here. Like I said, I am trying to think off the top of my head for more, but I think you guys actually have a pretty good one.
If you're listening to this episode, people at home, leave a comment with an example you think of that meets this.
Like, it might be a slight cop-out, but I honestly, if I want to say, I want to say Nier Automata.
That probably is a case, because, I mean, it's definitely like a sequel?
Because it's based off of Nier, Replicant and Gestalt, which is a spin-off of Drakengard. So it's a sideline to a sideline, but it became way more popular than both Drakengard and the original Nier.
Yeah, way bigger. Like we've talked about this before, talking about Yoko Taro, but Automata, like, specifically kind of put him, like, on the map and like, got a lot of cachet as a franchise and got him a lot of attention that made people both look back at his previous entries and also kind of appreciate him more going forward.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure if Automata wasn't as big of a hit as it was, we wouldn't have gotten the remake of Nier.
No, we would not.
Not too long ago.
Probably also would not have gotten the mobile title either.
Yeah.
And also, we wouldn't have got to be in fucking everything.
Also
everything.
True. My version of that joke was going to be even simpler. I was gonna say, and without it, we wouldn't have 2B's legs.
Yoko Taro never afraid of putting sexy women in his fucking game. Never afraid of putting weird women in his game either.
I mean, I think that's just the core of it is just Yoko Taro is not afraid to be weird.
No, that is the core of it.
I think there are people who are unfortunately afraid to be weird these days.
It's very
and like
true.
You do got to be careful, right? You get too weird and you can put off an audience, But if you maintain your weirdness, you will eventually find somebody to look forward to you. I think we've also said the thing that's really nice about Yoko Taro is I brought up before is also though Yoko Taro's not afraid to be weird, but also he's very practical about money.
Yeah.
Like, he likes to get paid, and he makes his games based on the budget he has, not the budget he wants to have. So, like, and if he runs out of money, Yoko Taro will be the first to tell you, we ran out of money. We cannot make more video game. You want more video game? Give me more money.
And then people will be like, shit, Yoko Taro needs more money.
Which, like, yeah, and there are, unfortunately, some guy, like, we have talked about this with Hideo Kojima. He's very good at what he does, very artistic. He's not afraid to be weird either. I'm pretty sure that some of the long production difficulties of Metal Gear Solid 5 was that he was spending Konami a lot of money that they didn't want to be spending. Because he was like, well, I'm Hideo Kojima, this is the video game I want to make. And they're just like, okay, but do we really need Kiefer Sutherland? And Hideo Kojima's like, yes, Kiefer Sutherland is vital. Never mind, we don't have enough money to pay him to fucking do any dialogue in this video game. We can't afford to bring him in for face capture. Yeah, but he wanted not to do it. And then I think Death Stranding is in a perfect spot where I'm fairly certain Sony said, Mr. Hideo Kojima, whatever money you need, we've got.
I mean, it worked.
We will sell so many CD Walkmans and Blu-ray players and plasma TVs.
So I've been
And, like-
lining out this coal vein for like the past 20 minutes, and I think I'm at like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 full stacks of brown coal, and there's still more!
Yeah, coal gets big. I think it's probably why I know there's a couple of veins of some size near us that I just haven't cleared out because I'm like, it's gonna be a lot of coal. But if it's pretty mine, we'll take it. I literally feel like Axe was talking, despite the fact that I think we have like 300 or 400 of it. Axe was like, oh, we might need some more brown coal. Fuck it, we'll buy it.
Oh, well, I think I'm about to take a shortcut home.
One of those days.
This Boatorn gets... Don't you dare! Don't you dare!
He's gonna dare. He's a Boatorn. He dares.
No! Victory. Sorry. I was fighting for my life. I don't want to lose like fucking 90-something survival experience again. It sucks.
Yeah, especially because it's cool. That's how you get fucking featherfall levels and shit.
But yeah, no. Actually... Yeah, but Yoko Taro's Nier Automata, I think it's counted. Like I said, it has been severely more popular than both Drakengard and, the original Nier, and has led to a boom in popularity for his previous works and probably his future works. I know his Sega console war thing did not necessarily go so well. I believe that thing hit end of service real fucking quick. But from what I understand, Nier Reincarnation did very well, and it reached the end of its storyline. I should actually see if I can find the story.
Yeah, I have not double checked myself, but I believe I've heard that they have a story archive version you can download.
Stuff. So yes, that will be my answer. Because I do love Drakengard, and like I said, I'm okay with Nier Replicant. Definitely Yoko Taro hit a very good stride with Automata. Drakengard 1 and 3 are just fucking weird. Like, I can't understate how weird they are. Automata and Nier are weird. Drakengard 1 and 3 are fucking weird.
I know Drakengard 1 is weird because, like, it's a game full of compromises.
Yes.
Like, as much as Yoko Taro does treat this as being a job, he is not afraid to, like, push back against management a little because, like, he has been micromanaged in his time. And, like, it's got some goofy stuff. Like, genuinely, I think the Drakengard 1, I don't think they originally intended at all to have those Dynasty Warriors like grind segments.
Legendary, if you keep making the two doesn't exist joke, I'm gonna make you not exist. I'm seriously tired of it. It does exist. It was not made by Yoko Taro, but it is a game.
Yeah, I don't think Yoko Taro references it.
Well, he didn't work on it, so he doesn't usually reference on it. It was made by a different team. It did not do well in the sales, but guys, real quick, none of the Drakenguards did a fucking well.
That's also true. They also like shit.
So stop giving two flack.
I think honestly, like you want to talk about critical
boring,
reception, like
it makes you boring, and I'm sick of it.
Again, some of this is just because I watched a big video essay about the first Drakengard recently. Go check out Grimbeard. But like the first one, like critically, like very few people got it, like in the critical sphere. And yes, video game journalism was different then. Like it was mostly, magazine reviews at the time was still big. Like web reviews were still very prototypal and often not taken seriously at all. But like so many outlets just went like, yeah, I guess it's like Dynasty Warriors, but like dark and fucked up, I guess. Like,
I guess.
So few people seem to actually like commit the time to playing through Drakengard and actually understanding what the fuck it was about at the time. Like, and again, the games have technical limitations and lots of, half done systems and slapdash stuff. Like, it's out there.
No, I would not mind though a remaster of 1 and 3 and put 2 in there just because it would bug me otherwise. But 1 and 3 are the ones that directly that Yoko Taro worked on and has his hallmark weirdness. 2 is weird, but it's not Yoko Taro weird, and that is to its detriment, I will say.
Trilogy collections are cool. I mean, knowing Yoko Taro, the thing he would do if you actually had him remaster those games is he would fucking go slide back in and re-edit them to do things differently.
I hope so.
He'll add a 6th ending to Drakengard, which will be even weirder. That'll be the one where like it turns out the whole of Drakengard was just like a fucking TV show. You just walk off set, go home, eat some ramen.
I'm just thinking about Kaim just in his fucking little apartment eating ramen. Angelo like just poking through the window. I love Kaim and Angelo so much. I am glad I was able to get another copy of Drakengard before it like disappeared off the face of the earth.
Ah, yes, the classic thing of being an underappreciated cult classic. When people realize you're an underappreciated cult classic.
Yeah, no, that's why. Like, I think I can't because I think I can't find a copy of Dragon Guard 2 for a good price because it's just actually that rare because it's a rare game that does not have a cult classic status. So people are just kind of like, on it. Ooh,
That's the kind of shit where you would like find on like Facebook Marketplace and somebody to be like, Dragon Guard 2, very real, $0. Give me a salt packet. And you're just like, well, shit, I'll take a no case, but I'll take Dragon Guard 2 for a salt packet. Do not actually trade things for salt packets, by the way, Chad. There's no way that's worth it.
Well, I take that back. I could probably find a fucking copy of Dragon Guard 2, but I'm looking for Dragon Guard 2 and it's with the original case and manual. That's important to me.
Well, also true.
Like, if I just wanted a disc-only Dragon Guard 2, that's fucking easy as shit. Get that shit for like $60. Man, I just realized... Well, we've been talking... Omega, let me know. What's the mission clock at?
We have been recording for 2 hours, 1 minute, and 49 seconds.
Honestly, that's pretty good for, still being in the FGO time, technically.
Yeah, I was going to say that earlier, but we hadn't quite left that comment. I was going to be like, by the way... And that was like 10 minutes ago, too. But it was going to be like, by the way, we've recorded for almost 2 hours. We're technically still at mailbag.
Yeah.
We're freewheeling. It's good. It's a good show. I think it's a better show. You guys at home can tell me if you think it's a worse show this way, but, Haha, you won't. You won't leave a comment.
Is Dragon Guard 2 published by Ubisoft? That's hilarious.
Ubisoft? I mean, that's not that crazy because that's Ubisoft's positive and its negative is they are a macro scale company. They'll publish quite a lot of things. Unfortunately, if you're an EA franchise, things are not looking great. God, I also hate that you have a meme.
Ooh, there is Dragon Guard 2 for PlayStation renewed. It's $100 though. Maybe next month when I'm not spending money on video games if it still exists. We'll see.
Ain't it just the way?
Like I said, Lucky is very much in physical media. I wish I could say I'm like some sort of official guy, but I'm very much into physical media preservation.
It's just
like,
that
I'm
thing
not gonna
where,
be,
like...
I'm not going to be one of those people who says, like, the internet will fail one day, or the companies will take all your shit. I just like having physical copies of stuff, and I think it's important to keep it.
I mean, I've gone through plenty of time with, like, thanks to living in disaster areas constantly, like many humans, no power, no internet kind of stuff. So, yeah, physical media is good for that. It's, if you want to run stuff a lot on electronics, you need electricity all the time. And I do think we've seen some stuff that, like, it is, unfortunately, kind of like a constant battle to keep access to some of your digital shit. Which, obviously, you can run. You can do that yourself. You can back up your digitals and things like that. But no, there's just something about the art of the physical.
No, just seeing... I know I say this a lot, but I'm going to say it every time. Just looking to my left and just seeing my shelves of video games and books literally sparks joy. Literally. Like, every time I see it, I'm all like, yeah. But that is the mailbag, finally. We did a lot of faffing in there. Hope you enjoyed all that.
We talked about some mailbag questions. We talked about some not mailbag questions.
Listen, everything's a mailbag question.
True, if you look hard enough. All right, well, to give Lucky a little bit of a break, let's switch up the order in which these notes are written for Free Talk and do... So you didn't get that 5-star first, as Lucky wrote most of our first impression notes.
They're not very long, but it'll give us something to jump on.
Yeah. And I think it's fine that, yeah, because like you said, you're only a couple of maps in. I did a couple more, which is like, I think maybe half-ish way, where they're 9 or 10. So like 4 would be a little under half. I don't know. I don't remember. But we'll do, what I called so you didn't get that 5-star. Very ironic edition, as Lucky and I both did get the 5-star.
I'm not going to say unwillingly, but definitely unsuspectingly.
Yes. But some of you may have been gunning for PTOLEMY'S and not gotten him. And we do have a brand new 3-star, so this is a good time to talk about it. And we're going to talk about Sugitani first, since Theseus isn't summonable yet, his banner hasn't started. And also, I don't actually know if he's shown up in the story in the time gates, because, like I said, there's quite a lot of reading in this. But Sugitani Zenjubo is a 3-star archer. Literally haven't had a new one since then, and I think our last one was quite a while ago. Let me actually look at the list of archers. People did bring up that technically it's been longer for 3-star Saber, because I think the last actual 3-star Saber was Bedivere, but we did get some work with, like, we added a bronze and stuff in there. But they did treat the Sabers as pretty good. But let's see. So Sugitani, so that would be the last, would be William Tell, damn. Got some big gaps in those 3 stars. But, stat-wise, a little higher than the midpoint, I think, on both attack and HP curves, but not to either extreme. Like, does not have the most HP or the most attack, but does not have quite as low attack as they might have for her HP total, or might have not as low HP as you might think for the attack total. So kind of in the middle there. Neither extreme. 1 quick, 2 arts, 2 busters. Average hits, 4 through 3. Good NP gain, 0.66. Very solid for 2 arts cards and 1 quick. So, the NP is very funny. It's a single target buster, and it involves a lot of coin flips. Yes, Sugitani is a very specific gimmick here. So, always deals bonus damage to King trait and generates 20 stars. That's always going to happen. You have an 85% chance to proc Sure Hit for 1 turn first, and 2 55% chances to rage NP damage for 1 turn first. These are, again, 2 separate chances. And Overcharge Effect is a 70% chance to give Arts and Buster up for 1 turn first. Actually, I think it might be 3 turns. The percentage, though, is based on your over... It is based on your overcharge level, so it starts 20% and maxes out at 40%. Okay, it is 1 turn, yeah. So, yes, Sugitani does a lot of coin flipping, which obviously makes a lot of sense for the history. Very famously tried to take a crack at Nobunaga and did not succeed. Also, interesting enough, I do find it kind of funny that the history articles about it just like, not unheard of, assassinations weren't very, very common at this time in Japan. Kind of interesting. But yes, that's why, that's probably why Sugitani is an archer and not an assassin. Not very good at assassinating, but has a matchlock.
Yeah.
At least until you get to the 3rd Ascension, when it looks more like a modern hunting rifle. You probably still do the NP animation, though, where Sugitani, does the whole pour the powder, use the ramrod. I think it is actually a Tanegashima rifle, too.
Oh, that'd be my first guess. The Tanegashima really came into its own during the Sengoku era. Like, we were talking about that with Ghost of Yotei. Like,
yeah.
The battle that Lord Saito lost was the Battle of Nagashino, where Nobunaga unleashed the 3-line formation of just, riflemen, and completely fucked up the enemy line.
And much like as in Jobu's stuffs here, in Ghost of Yotei, you and other people can reload. Like, it's very funny. I think somebody should ask Atsu if she's ever used a matchlock before in her life, because you can. I know for video games, it's a long time. You reload that very fast for real life time.
Well, like I said, Atsu did fight in Sekigahara and probably a few battles beforehand. Like I said, the Battle of Nagashino when Atsu was a child, so firearms probably became a little bit more prevalent during that time. Probably.
We do know that I do believe that Nobunaga imported a shitload, for the wars, and then after did most of the unifying was kind of like, maybe I should not have bought so many of these guns. But it wasn't until the shogunate was firmly established that we did start cracking down on the import of them. I wonder. I should actually double check the history. The at least hey, spoilers for a future discussion. I'm not done with it, but I'm up to Oshima Coast. I have all my weapons unlocked. I have both the pistol and the matchlock. But the Matsuma you run into in that area are real big on the classic the trope of no, they kill indiscriminately from range. It's not honorable at all. Never mind that the historically the samurai caste has been horse archers first. I suppose at least there is something, there is something still a little chivalric about being a horse archer versus being, guy who crouches behind a wooden panel and shoots musket.
Yeah, no, I'm actually double checking this.
But I would assume at some point
was that Saito from Saito Dosan? Oh, actually, hang on. Sorry, I'm double checking something right here.
Yeah, that would probably be the right clan.
Yeah, no, I'm just double checking because I'm reading here. Because I remember there was a Saito clan in the Sengoku era, but that was Saito Dosan. I wasn't actually sure if that was the same Saito that, because in that battle, Dosan's family was killed. They weren't exiled because they were defeated. What battle was it? 19.
Well,
they might have taken some. No, it was the year before, so no, it could have been it. Yeah. So yeah, it was probably from the Saito clan that Nobunaga originally was allied with, because the Viper, who one of Nobunaga's wives, Nohime, was from. That's interesting. Sucker Punch really picked an interesting antagonist. They're doing a little alt history though.
They did. I mean, I like it. It's good. It makes the story better.
Yeah.
And no, having it, like I said, having done that segment where you actually square up with him in the training fortress. No, I like Saito because he's wrong, but he also still has vision, which is important.
That's the thing I like. It's like, I don't necessarily hate the guy because he went through some shit. He's just dealing with it in the absolute worst way.
And some of his ideas are very strong. Like, literally, as you're climbing the fortress to get that match with him, he's like, a guy's talking about, like, hey, boss, these female Ashikaru might, like, send the wrong message to the Matsuma. Like, oh, Clan Saito needs women to fight our battles. And Saito's just like, I do not give a single shit what status my soldiers were born at and what gender they are. Are they loyal? Will they fight? That's all I care about. And I don't care if the Matsume think I'm a stupid head for doing it. I'm going to kill them all the same. The problem is that Saito also has that totalitarian vision of no. Simply burn down a farm to show the other farmers that they need to give me their rice and stuff. Give me their yams, their radishes. And it's like, no, that's where you fucked it up, Saito.
Yeah,
you fucked it up because the producers are vital to your plan. You need the farmers. But yeah, no, it's very strong. Also, unfortunately for Saito, I think I haven't fully completed that story arc, but I think that unfortunately the dragon and the spider are too much schmucks to carry on his grand vision no matter what.
No, I think once from what I've seen, unfortunately, Lucky hasn't got that much further in Ghost of Yotei. I am about to start the spider and the dragon quest. I'm about to go meet the Adachi Master. Just but from the cutscene I've seen, no, one of them tries too hard and the other one doesn't try hard enough. So I'm just like, no.
Yeah, that's basically what I've seen out of him. It's just like, yeah, no, one's a little and it's the ones you would expect. The dragon is the try-hard one, and the one they call the spider is just kind of like, yes, father. What if we didn't do things? And it's just like, man, whatever, man. I'm sure he's a schemer, so I'm sure he's scheming things. He's named the fucking spider, but anyway, we'll talk about that later. That is still relevant though, because that is the kind of historical period that Sugitani is from. Also, I haven't talked about it yet, but it's straight in their initial lines. But if you're curious, in history, Sugitani Zenjubo was a man, but got magical gender reassignment thanks to everybody's favorite Spider Grandma, who is also Spider Grandpa, and is 4 different guys. Thanks, Spider, Gosh, and Koji.
I do hope I get them, because they are permanent, if I remember correctly.
Yes. So yeah, their Noble Phantasm kit is firing the bullets at Nobunaga, basically shooting with 2 bullets, which has a lot of chance based in it. But if it procs, you can get a very strong. It's like the 2 statics are 20%. So lots of servants have a 20% up for 1 turn on their NP first, right? But what servants have 2 20% ups? So you can, if you get these buffs to proc, you are looking at quite a lot of self buffs, and you can make those be better through skills. First skill, the sniping environment, is a buster up, 20-30% buster up for 3 turns, so you already have a pretty good guaranteed steroid. Also increases critical damage of buster cards for 3 turns by 30-50% straight up, so, you will have follow-up for crits. Second skill's pretty fun, that's their version of disengage reloading, so you don't get a self-heal on it, but you do still get to remove all debuffs. And also, you generate 5 to 10 stars per turn, and increase your own critical damage, or rather, you get a regeneration buff. So at the end of a turn, for 5 turns, you get a critical damage up buff, which is 1 time 5 turns. 30% to 50%. So, hypothetically, if you don't crit for 5 turns, you could have 5 stacks of 50% crit up. You will probably crit sooner than that, but it's still interesting that you have this 1 time 5 turn stack that applies. You are literally loading your gun with intent. Mm-hmm. And then the final skill is arguably the big one, though, because this is the one that makes that buff success stuff be a little more important. First of all, camouflage sniping is a 3 hits, 3 turns evade. Very good defense.
Ooh.
Absolutely been saving my ass on the support version in some of these Grail Fronts. You also increase the critical star absorption of your buster cards for 3 turns, so your stars will go to your buster cards, which get the crit up, and also generate the biggest crits. And also you get another regeneration buff for 3 turns, where you increase buff success rate by 15% for 5 turns, every turn for 3 turns. So you can get plus 45% if you wait 3 turns, and it lasts 5 turns total. All of these are on a 6-turn cooldown, so you can't ever double up without getting Koyan of Dark or Koyan of Light in here, kind of stuff. Not that wouldn't be a bad pick, as Sugitani is a gun-wielding character. And in fact, I believe this is a little feature site for Lucky, but you know that Koyan of Dark is involved in this event.
Yeah, at some point.
And she actually does meet Sugitani and say, "My other self would like you better," because Koyan of Light is the gun one.
I
So,
do just like how they just
good matchups.
exist simultaneously. It's so good.
Yeah,
Sorry,
it's funny,
just thinking happy thoughts about Koyan Skya's.
But yeah, so the ideal strategy here, if you're not picking up on this chat, I should say the passes before that because they're very simple. You have magic resistance D for slight debuff resist, and independent action EX for a shitload of crit damage all the time. You're passively doing 12% more crit damage permanently. So the strategy with Sugitani is you stockpile buffs and crit stars basically and hit the enemy really hard. Ideally, you're striking somebody who's a king trait, so you can do a lot of bonus damage. Being a 3-star, once they're in the permanent pool, it should be relatively harmless. I won't say easy, because you will have to do a lot of FP rolls to do it, but it should be relatively straightforward process to get them to NP5. It's kind of the logic we talk about with welfares, right? Is, automatic NP5, so, you're going to be doing quite a lot of damage. You're going to have a lot of overcharge potential to get those buffs up. And you still have a buster up on one skill, so, you'll be generating them. You just need to wait one turn. Like, you need one turn on Camouflage to proc to get 100% chance of sure hit. 2 turns means that your overcharge buffs will always proc, and if you actually get all 3 turns, that's the 45%. That means that you will guarantee get both NP damage up procs. So, in challenge quests, in boss fights, and any kind of, long drawn-out fight, in Grail Fronts, for instance, Sugitani really has a chance to shine as a very powerful damage dealer who also has pretty good endurance tricks. Like I said, 3 hits, 3 turns evasion, very strong. And disengage, the important part of the disengage is the just yeet all your own debuffs. So you can get a very budget-efficient single-target archer killer. A little different than, William Tell's strats as a comparison point. And yeah, like I said, I've been having a lot of fun using the support version in the Grail Fronts. Well, and at least if this final Ascension art is to be said, that Sugitani is not wearing anything under the front of their tabard.
I'm okay with this.
In the actual Sprite 3, she's got a cool hip cloak, or shoulder cloak technically, it doesn't go all the way to the hips.
Yeah, no, sorry, I'm doing some research on, the Saito clan and the Battle of Nagashino and a whole bunch of other things, and none of them line up, perfectly one-to-one, but it's enough that, I feel like you could put the narrative to get together.
It seems like a strong case where they found a good fit for the clan, and then they just kind of, massage the facts to be this exact guy probably didn't exist, but something like this guy could have existed.
Yeah, no. Because there was a Saito clan who did, there was, the Battle of Nagashino, which it was talked about, this guy one point was exiled at some point, so it's no, there is a Lord Saito from the Sengoku area who was, got his ass kicked by Nobunaga and was exiled, but there is no particular reference to him being at the Battle of Nagashino, which is referenced in a thing. Yeah, no, Max is right. Ghost of Yotei is on samurai movie logic. I shouldn't expect it to be, perfect Japanese history, but I like seeing the details and, lining them up.
It's fun. We should double check, because we did talk about this last week. Clan Matsumai is was the actual officially shogunate sponsored clan to govern Izo, so that is historical. I wonder if there was a Lord Kitamori or if that is completely fictional. But yes, they do a lot. Honestly,
right now, I'm gonna spend my tickets. I'm I want Sugitani. I want her.
That's fair. Honestly, thinking about it, that, especially that comparison of if that is supposed to be the clan Lord Saito in Yotei is from, as was allies to Nobunaga, and then either he turned against them or they turned against him. I can't actually remember how it worked out. Because Nobunaga attracted both in equal measure. It's maybe that's why Saito is the way he is. Maybe he learned the wrong lesson from the Demon King of the Sixth Heaven.
No, I can definitely see that.
Because, that was one of the things that made Nobunaga successful, was his more, meritocratic approach of just yeah, these guys can use muskets. Yeah, I don't care that this guy, who is now my, personal aide, my number 1 general, is some literal scrub I found in the jungle, in the forest.
That was literally fucking.
That was Monkey, yes. He just was some rando. And Nobunaga was
Hideyoshi.
Yeah, Hideyoshi. He swings a sword good, so I don't care. And I say I don't care. Are you going to challenge me? But also, I think some of Nobunaga's intimidation tactics were also what came to bite him in the ass. trying to wipe out clans of civilians of the ninja clans in Iga and Koga, and burning down monk temples was probably not, even if they were strategically valid. I don't think a lot of people understood that one very well.
Well, it's also a lot of his allies also did some fucked up. I always get his name wrong, but the guy who blew up his teapot recently just got turned into a girl in the latest Guruga. Was it Matsunaka Higashige? I can't. Japanese word. He was also one of the allies of fucking Nobunaga. Considered one of the 3 great villains, along with fucking Saito Tosan. So Nobunaga did not have a great track record of really cool allies. I think like fucking Tokugawa Ieyasu was like probably one of the greatest.
Even then, Ieyasu was like, he was a schemer. Like
he was the Tanuki.
Yes, he did technically usurp, from the rightful continuity of the guys who took over from Nobunaga. But at the same time, he won because he was much better liked by other samurai. He was popular. That's I said. That's the thing. I think Saito's missing the key is he has charisma, but he doesn't use it correctly. But no, Ieyasu was like he knew what he was doing most of the time.
Yeah. Well, like I said, he was kind of a slimy dude, but trust me, like the Viper of Mino and I can't remember if the other one had a nickname. There were some bad dudes.
Yeah, that's the thing
betrayal,
about
betrayal, and fucked up shit was the kind of their bread and butter.
This is the kind of thing, right? Like open warfare and stuff breeds a lot of like complexity, and this is the Sengoku period. The Warring States is a specific snapshot of Japanese history, which has occurred in several other places. I think, like honestly, if you think about it, like several of the Chinese dynastic wars are like that. There have been some periods like that in European. Actually, fuck it. We can relate this back. It's very similar to the War of the Diadochi. The succession crisis after Alexander, where Alexander, big guy, pretty straightforward and genuine. Like there were some issues, like the burning of Persepolis and stuff like that. But Alexander generally tried to be integrational, right? Like he tried to encourage, his Macedonian generals to, take on Persian responsibilities. There was a period, and I think it was Susa is in like modern like Iran or Iraq. It's like very deep into the territory, but he conducted a mass wedding of his generals to Persian noblewomen. I really hope, by the way, this comes out more in his stuff. But by the way, Chad, I need you to know, I talked about this in the Wanted if you haven't watched it, but I'll remind everybody watching the big show. Ptolemy married a lot of times. His first squeeze, her name was Thias, and he may not have actually officially married her, but she was a female companion in Alexander's retinue, which means she was a educated artisanal woman. But also, several historians say that it was her idea to burn down Persepolis.
Oof.
She got smashed at the party with Alexander and the generals and just said, hey, these guys burned down our stuff. Why don't we burn down their stuff? And then Alexander was just like, well, they're burning down the stuff. He was married to a Persian noblewoman at Susa. I'm going to be real. Obviously, I think Ptolemy wouldn't challenge his boy Alexander on this, but I do not think he liked this very much because that Persian wife, is never mentioned again after that. They had no children. She was not brought with him to Egypt. And listen, Ptolemy the First had a lot of kids. I think we've got at least 3 with Thias, with his third wife, Eurydice of Egypt, who was the daughter of Antipater I, who was one of the regents of the Diadochi, had several kids. A couple of his sons went on to be kings of Macedon in their own right, but it was his fourth wife, Bernice I of Egypt, that Ptolemy II Philadelphus, who was Ptolemy's youngest son, ended up co-ruling and inheriting after him. So the man made some moves, but the wars of the Diadochi are just full of like these little things that are so funny. There was technically what was called in history the War of the Nerves, which was when Alexander dies in Babylon, right? Chat.
Yeah.
Perdiccas, his second in command, receives his signet ring. I said wing.
Wing.
He received the magical chicken wing. And Perdiccas gets all of Alexander's bodyguards, of which there were supposed to be 7, but they added an 8th. There were 8 guys in that team. Got all of his generals, got his Hetairoi, the Companions, which was what literally Alexander's heavy cavalry was called. It's what the name of his NP is based on.
Yep.
And apparently the word got out that Alexander had died, so a bunch of the common soldiers also busted into this meeting because they were very concerned about how things were going. So Perdiccas holds this meeting, and basically he says, all right, boys, choose one or many. We can, we either right now, we basically develop a council of generals, or we pass it on to Alexander's kids. Several guys objected because who would become the future Alexander IV, Alexander's child with Roxanne, wasn't born yet. Roxanne was 6 months pregnant when Alexander died at the ripe old age of 32. He had an illegitimate son, Heracles, but Ptolemy and several others objected because these guys were, so far had been basically born and raised Persian. Alexander had a younger, brother. We don't know exactly what it was. It was said that he was mentally, ill or impaired somehow. But what that means in a historical context, we don't fucking know. He could have just, had a reading impediment for all we know. Reading disability. But so, some people suggested Perdiccas become regent. I think some people even said that oh, well, if we pick Alexander's, unborn child to lead to become the new king, Perdiccas, that basically means you're king because you're going to be the regent until this kid grows up, kind of a thing. Very true, by the way.
Yes.
So they had the War of the Nerve where literally the general Meleager who worked under Alexander was like, no, Alexander's brother should become king. I will stand for him. So Perdiccas, summons all the boys back to the camp and they have a little mini fight until it gets sorted out. Meleager loses. Originally he just surrenders, but I'm pretty sure Perdiccas has him assassinated basically right after.
That we ain't doing this shit again.
Yeah. And it ends up basically that Perdiccas is like, all right, I will become regent for Alexander's unborn child. I will become, the next step in Macedonia. And then it is said, according to several commentaries, Ptolemy himself says, all right, Perdiccas, here's our great idea. What if we, Alexander's generals, all become satraps, which is the Persian word for governor, for all the territories he's conquered? And no, I don't want Macedon or Greece. I'll take Egypt and Libya. So he suggested the plan to basically reorganize Alexander's empire into different provinces governed by his generals and closest companions, and also picked Egypt for himself.
Yeah.
And they broke into open warfare, though, because several of the guys didn't like this, but also, I think I have mentioned this story before, but so Perdiccas wants to bury Alexander's body in Macedon, because that's part of the way you become the next king of Macedon, is you perform the funeral rites for the previous king. Alexander said on his deathbed he wanted to be buried at the temple of Zeus Ammon, the very famous temple in Libya, where that's where an oracle told him he was the son of Zeus.
Mm-hmm.
So he wanted to be buried there. So what does our boy Ptolemy do? When Alexander's body is traveling through Damascus in Syria, he tells this story to the guys guarding it and convinces them to send the body to Egypt. So he has Alexander buried in Memphis and later relocated to Alexandria.
Wow.
Perdiccas was annoyed by this and tried to, perform a punitive invasion of Egypt. He couldn't cross the fucking Nile. He lost 2,000 guys trying to get across the water, and his own men assassinated him. Because they were like, Perdiccas, we're not doing this shit. Then they go to Ptolemy, who graciously crosses, the river to talk with his homies. And they're like, hey, Ptolemy, do you want to be the new regent? Ptolemy, smart man, is like, no, I'm good with Egypt, guys. This is why Ptolemy lives to be 86 or something. He never tries to be like, no, I am Alexander's successor. He's like, no, listen, Alexander was my king. He was a cool guy. We should divide it evenly amongst ourselves. But yeah, no, and they just all war amongst themselves. And I think you can say that kind of similar, that kind of stability and then destability phase after the Sengoku is kind of the same thing, right? Where, you build all these alliances, everybody gets very nasty to each other, even if you're supposed to be close allies, and then eventually somebody smart comes along. And technically in the Hellenistic kingdoms period, there were several smart ones. The big ones were Seleucus was really successful, Antigonus, Cassander, Lysimachus, and Ptolemy, obviously. But each of them kind of carved out their own little phases and stuck to it. And that's how you win. You're smart. And Ptolemy talks a little bit about this in the Grail Front, which we should actually talk a little bit about our first impressions, because it's a fun one.
It is. So I did have rested my voice a little bit here. So I didn't actually pay a lot of attention to when this came out in JP as I usually do. I knew that Ptolemy was a thing, Sugitani was a thing, and it was a Grail Front. I usually don't pay attention to the story because I like being surprised. And boy, howdy, I was surprised. Because right off from the gate, you can tell we really upped the animation budget, didn't we? You first notice it when they actually have like a liquid moving drop that, falls on screen. It's not, it's not like a 2D little sprite. And it just keeps going from there. We actually had like a full-on intro movie.
Yes.
With stuff. It was very nice. I hope we get more of these. I want to see them flex. But, as is usually the case, story begins. We are dropped into a singularity. We have no idea what the fuck is going on. Great. Business as usual.
We just know that it's foggy, and we brought Taigong Wang.
And Taigong Wang's like, I got this shit. He don't got this shit. He tries doing some ancient Chinese magecraft, and I forgot to actually mention it, but it actually mentions like the ancient Chinese magecraft associations by name, and talks a little bit. He doesn't go into a lot of detail about it, but talks a little bit about them, how like China has a bunch of magecraft associations, and there's only like a few like well-known ones, or some of the most well ones have survived to modern day or something. I don't exactly remember. I wasn't thinking about taking first impression notes at that time. But he tries doing some stuff, and then the fog tries to eat him. Tries to eat everyone. The fog has the concept of severance in it. So, if you get lost in the fogs, you get cut away. So, Taigong Wan basically says his not dragon, I have completely forgotten its name. I'm sorry. To, take us away from here and keep us safe as he, fades into the fog. Again, like I said, they did another really good fact where, Taigong Wan is just slowly drifting backwards and, fading into the fog. I'm like, and I think I say this like several times. I do feel like every event they are getting a little bit better at using the assets they have to give certain effects.
Yeah, they're doing a lot with them. We also get a like red ray shift cut in here.
Yeah, that means that shit's fucked. But we get back. We can actually see the castle now, and we're under attack. We're using those models of nameless servants from Trom. It's cool, they're attacking us, and shit, we don't have time to summon, and lo and behold, we are saved by a young man. He looks cool and fresh. It's Ptolemy. He basically says, we got shit to do. Here, let me give you the Grail Front tutorial. I do actually like this. They actually go into a little bit of detail of actually how to do the Grail Front in the event, and along with explaining the additional objectives. Like, the very first map is... you don't have to defeat everyone. You have to put the master on a very specific spot, because you got to stop the nasty-ass ley line from being nasty.
It is kind of like miasmatic. Keeps puking up guys.
It's puking up guys. But you do that, things are well, and, things. Like I said, I'm trying to think of any, like, particular detail here. You do find out that he's Ptolemy. You learn, he is the person that eventually go on to build one of the, the great wonders of the world. One of the world wonders. That's the library at Alexandria. Actually, I have this later, but I'll put it now. Fun fact about the library of Alexandria: a lot of people know it because it was quote unquote burned down. That's not actually true. While it did have a big fire and a lot of books were destroyed and stuff, what actually shut down the Library of Alexandria was a lack of support. Libraries are a concept that has been around fucking forever. Like, literally, houses of knowledge and stuff have existed, like, forever. The problem is back then, libraries were not based upon, public funding and taxes. They were mostly funded through, noble support and patronage. Maybe it was the fire that, made caused the people to pull out or some stuff. But one other thing, but no, what actually led to the collection being broken up and the work been done was a lack of funding from noble patronage. Just one of those fun little facts that a lot of people like to say about, so much was lost when the library burned down. It was like, it didn't actually burn down. It was just a section. There was still something lost.
Yeah,
but
it was like damaged, but they went through several phases. And there were, there were campuses basically that and temples that had, big successor libraries. The unfortunate problem was that it wasn't one, great singular burning. It was lack of support over years of it also being destroyed several times because unfortunately Alexandria was sieged a lot during the Roman period.
Yeah.
Actually, bonus fun fact, that the Emperor Aurelian was trying to recapture Alexandria from the Palmyran forces of Zenobia and allegedly destroyed the quarter of the city in which the main library was located. It's not known if the Museon the museum and the library were still there exactly. Like, they could have already been basically defunded and torn down, but it would have definitely, like, seriously damaged them. And then a few years later, Diocletian probably also had that quarter destroyed. So the Romans kept flattening the quarter it was in. So, it's like you said, it's not one, like, singular great, burning did it, though. That is, like, one of those moments that people really like to be like, oh, but also, like, it was a steady successive decline. Unlike, Ptolemy's other ancient wonder of the world, which was the Pharos, the lighthouse. That was probably done in by a single big earthquake that knocked the top half off and threw it in the ocean.
Yep.
That's kind of not really coming back from that. That means you got to build a new lighthouse, and it's not going to be as cool as the ancient wonder of the world.
But you and Ptolemy hang out, you talk shop and stuff. Ptolemy is very excited to learn new stuff about you, about Chaldea and all that. At one point, I think was this at when you switch? I'm actually losing my train of thought here a little bit. Like I said, but I will say, Master does have ninja skills confirmed. Old as hell Halloween callback. Was that Halloween 2 or Halloween 3 where we learned the substitution technique from Fuma to try and get out of going into Liz's castle?
I think it may have been 2, but it might have been by 3. I don't remember if we were.
I think it was also the year where we had to get tossed into the race shifter via rugby scrum. Good
that
times.
One I think was 3 then, because that was like the second one we were like, oh no, not again. The third one we're like, I'm not doing this again.
Yeah, it's so good. But eventually we get real fucking tired, and Ptolemy is all like, yeah, get some rest. Just don't be surprised when you wake up. And you're like, what? You go to bed, wake up, it's old man Ptolemy. He basically explains that because he's had 2 primes of his life, his servant form basically reflects both those times, in him being, a general of Alexander the Great, and, the founder of the Ptolemaic dynasty in Egypt, full-on pharaoh.
Yeah, this is a cool thing that, like, I'm pretty sure Fate has mentioned, like, there are interviews and there are supplementary materials. Like, people have asked the question, like, hey, if a servant's summoned in their prime of their life, what happens if they have 2 primes? And they're like, well, they can both be servants. But Fate very rarely actually, like, does it. Mm-hmm. But no, Ptolemy's a great example of that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, old man.
They do a lot of they do quite a bit of talking, but in the second battle, you actually get access to the castle that you are around, except there is a giant-ass dragon in there. And I took one look at this dragon sprite, and I'm like, this dragon is Iskander, isn't it? Why else does it have this red-ass beard? Look at it. That's the Iskander beard. What is going on here?
Yeah, I had the same thought about the Dreadnought. Or to quote, since we talked about 40K earlier, a very old commercial for the Space Hulk board game, Dreadnought! Again, we have a little bit of an interesting find. You're not supposed to fight the big ass dragon. You're just supposed to, get everyone to escape. This is where you run into Sugitani for the first time as they are fleeing from said Dragon Skandar. But I'm just gonna go on the record and says Bargus don't care about no Dragon Skandar. Fucking completely wiped. I do appreciate that the Grail Front did have the second objective, either reach this point or kick everyone's ass. So at no point the game was all like, you probably could kick its ass if you really wanted to. And they do have, like, dialogue for doing it. It's just like, Sugitani is like, what the fuck? And Tommy's all like, yeah, man, you kick ass. Yeah, there's extra, I think there were dialogue inserts, but this one being much more plot relevant. There's a lot more, like, dialogue inserts on the Grail Front maps, which is good. I do think that is why some people are having problems loading some of them, because they are, like, have extra assets and overlays and shit, and scripts.
Oh, yeah. No, it's true. Like, if you take, like, one of your servants to, like, the exit point, not the master, Ptolemy will pop up. It's like, hey, just in case you forgot, you're supposed to reach that spot. And I'm like, I got it. I'm just holding the spot so shit doesn't spawn on top of it.
Yeah, I literally did that in the first map. But no, I think I did what most people who have one and are following us along did. And also, they gave me a saber slot right there, man. It's a Grail Front. You want me to not use my level 100 Bargist?
I used my level 100 Bargist. I put her fucking Bond CE on it. It was great.
She's a fucking champ. No, it's great.
By the way, my Archer Barkis has reached Bond 9. I'm almost there.
That's nice.
It is nice.
I need to put more time. I need to finish raising my Archer Bargist skills. I've put her on some maps as well, but yeah, no. Bargist really. I mean, this is why Grail Fronts are fun, right? Because you get to flex different servant strats. Endurance units like Barghest. My go-to assassin for a lot of these comps is my fucking, high-level Pysen, because if you just get her regen buffs going, she fucking keeps healing herself forever. There are a couple of Lancers who are good for it, but I think Canis is a pretty good Lancer pick because Canis also has a big damage cut, Like, you get to do lots of fun stuff with servants who are, like, even in like, straightforward boss fights might not be the best pick, but it's like, no, this servant's got longevity. We can do a lot of fun things here. And Barghest is fucking great for that.
Oh, yeah. Afterwards, Ptolemy basically says, all according to plan, and uses his Noble Phantasm, which is, when he's older, basically the Library of Alexandria, which, comes to learn, was actually built with, support of the fucking Atlas Institute, which is why, all his books have been recorded into fucking light. It's a little wild. And everyone's going to go like, oh yeah, no, his dynasty was in fucking Egypt, same place as Atlas Institute. It completely makes sense that they would have met. I do want to point out here, again, just, a little attention to detail. I want to call out this detail when Pharaoh Ptolemy started using his Noble Phantasm. The crystal book slides up the screen rather than just a sprite change or a text box like with, hey, that crystal looking book. It really highlights how story and art teams are doing more with assets and how they are presented. It's such a little thing, but it's just like, yeah, no, we drew all the little crystal book and just like, let it slide up onto here instead of, using some like, cheaper, less
instead of
method.
like an earlier FGO event would literally, like you said, have had one sprite with the book out, one with the sprite not, and would just change between lines of text.
Yes. Like I said, Ptolemy, spends some time talking about, how he, lives in two different forms, and sometimes he's just an old man in a young body. Da Vinci Chan has her, 3 ellipses here, and that makes me go, ugh! That has me concerned.
I feel like Da Vinci would almost feel like the other one sometimes, because she has, all the knowledge of the adult one, but is in her tiny babu body. Da Vinci also has kind of those moments, I think, where, like, there's sometimes when, the writer Da Vinci Chan is, like, very childlike. We had a whole summer about that. But then there are other times where she is, like, crazy mature. Sometimes I think she's even more mature than her cast herself.
Yeah, it's very true. I do actually like this detail because I only learned about this fact from you, Omega, but they actually do talk about how there are some theories that the Greek gods ran away to Egypt when they were talking about how, I can't remember the exact name, but they were talking about how, Greek and Egypt were actually more closely related than one think. I think this has something to do in real life with, like, syncretism and mythology and whatnot.
Yeah, there's a lot of syncretism. Some of it promoted by Ptolemy himself.
Yeah. So I think it's, fair that, he brings it up.
It's one of those things that, like, it aesthetically, like, right, like, you can look at certain historical periods of Egyptian culture and then look at periods of historical Greek cultures and be like, these cultures don't look very close together. But also, you can throw a rock and, like, start hitting some Grecian islands from Egypt, Like, they're... Yeah. I mean, they're closer in the Mediterranean than Rome is to Greece, and boy howdy, the Romans borrowed a lot of Greek culture. Even responsible for the name. Yes, the Greeks, the ancient Greeks, really loved the Egyptian like culture and looked at all their big stoneworks and went, "Wow, rad,
wow." But it's at this point you realize that you got to start assaulting the castle to get through everything, and you're basically given the option of doing things at day or night. Day has fewer enemies, but night gives you tactical advantages. And unfortunately, that's where Lucky ended, because I was all like, do I want to do the next one at day or the next one at night? Let me think about this, and then never thought about it again.
Yeah, the day-night pick is a through line. They've given me a couple of those flip choices. Honestly, so far, like, I think I did the first one of those at day to see what it was like, but then I started doing some at night. They're not really... Like, the night ones aren't really that hard. And yes, chat brought this out. You can... do both. Like, you can redo the other version later if you want to grab the treasure chests. You won't get, like, extra, like, quest clear rewards, but the two maps are technically different, so you can try them both out if you want to see. But so far, I think the night ones haven't been that much more challenging, and you do get some extra interesting, zones to fight on. And so far, I haven't felt completely bodied by any of the enemies. Like I said, I think I'm doing the math now, and I think I did 5 maps. I have not yet to use the fact that you can now revive mid Grail Front. So I think we're doing okay. But if you want to get through them faster, you can probably do the day ones. But there's quite a bit of story.
But
yes,
excuse me. Shoot. Thank you. Yeah,
yes.
but I think that's all I have written right down. Like I said, I will be definitely getting through more of it in the week to come. We still got time, but I don't want to be last
Don't wanna be
minute.
rushing,
There is currency to farm.
Yes. Though I will say, I do appreciate that for like the command codes and CEs, every time you clear a map, you basically get enough currency to buy one of those.
Oh yeah, no, they
Like,
are very
it
generous.
stonks. So that really cuts down on the free quest farming. Like, I haven't done any free quest farming at all, and I'm still like most of the way through I got like one command code and like 1 or 2 CEs left. There are only 4, so it's not a huge deal there. But yeah, it's a pretty decent setup too. So no, it's a lot of fun. I think I'm in through like basically what I would say is probably the next arc of maps, and like I said, you'll probably like that one. Lucky that is when Koyan of Dark shows up.
Yes, good.
We get to see some people. And I'm kind of curious where we're going from there, but there are a decent amount of story and kind of back and forth going on. But this event's pretty good at pitching us Ptolemy, pretty good at kind of like reintroducing us to Sugitani, because they were basically a non-character in Traum.
Yes.
So much so that we were like, I think we were both completely poleaxed when they actually showed her sprite, and we were like, "Oh, Sugitani's from Traum?"
Actually, now that I think about it, she took a pot shot at a general. Damn.
Yeah, we had a whole thing just going on.
Layers here.
FGO writers, they have fun, and also they had like a year and a half to prep for this. Yeah, Traum would be like a year and a half ago, I think, because we're coming up on almost a year from LB7, right? Yeah,
Coming up on, yes.
Because I'm pretty sure that was last December, because we get our first audio call shockingly fast, and then we go radio silent for a while. God, sorry, I just think about. People say that like the later ones are pretty good, and that sets my expectation very high. But the first audio call was also really cool.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, a lot of the character designs and stuff, and also just very strong musical moments. I just in my head hear the map theme sometimes.
Mm.
But yeah, we'll probably have some more impressions up future. But we have been recording for almost 3 hours. So that's pretty decent. We got a couple of things we can talk about in the free talk time. I do think because we have been going for 3 hours, I want to take a quick intermission in real life, refill my bottle of water, and everybody rest and reset, and we'll be right back, I think. Okay, we're back. We're in the free talk time. Sorry, there's a side message.
Free talk.
Time for what's up.
What's up?
So I got a couple of things to think about here.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know how long they will be, and obviously, if there's anything else coming up, I know that there's some new core stuff with anime firing up.
Fortunately, I have not been super on the anime, so I do not have any recommendations. Lucky's been really hyper focused on like 3 games in particular, and it's gonna reflect.
It is how it is. Well, I assume one of those games is Ghost of Yotei.
Yep. I have not. Funnily enough, that is the game I have put in the least amount of time, but I have been putting in time to it. Mostly, I have not progressed in story. Now I completed like what I am calling the Act 1 bosses. I want to say. And that the Kitsune and the One are supposed, you can kind of do either or, I feel.
Yeah.
The game is very open-ended, but just the way that the names are on the sash and just how the game kind of, I think, leans you towards them, I think it's definitely a thing. But after that, I've been running around all their areas, making sure that I get every bit of white off the map I can. It bugs me. It bugs me a lot. I'm gonna be real, guys. I know it's a silly little thing, but when I just see a giant just white splotch because I haven't run there, like, personally, I'm just like, oh.
Yeah,
I have to go run through it.
No, I've done that with a few areas, and someplace fill in naturally. Yeah, I will say, having done those 2, and like I said, I've gotten access to Oshima Coast, so you do the Saito Training Fortress, because that is another case. Cause I think you mentioned this last week. We talked about it, but I have realized that you were right. There is a formula about this thing. You always have a fake fight with the Yotei 6 before you have the real fight. So
yeah.
the Training Fortress is clearly like a fight with Saito that gets interrupted by circumstance. And it's really interesting, though. Yeah. After that, though, you have kind of like a wrap-up moment to bring everything together, and then you're like, oh, yeah, we're going to go off to the Oshima Coast to fight the spider and the dragon. And that comes with a Chapter 2 title card.
Oh, does it?
Yes. So, you're not wrong that like once you take that first account into Saito, the actual like arcs you finish are Oni and Kitsune, and then the next one is called Chapter 2.
Okay.
I don't know if there'll be a 3. You don't have to tell me, Trent, but it's one of those things of like, I don't know what the pacing is like, because like,
I do know there's some people who have beat it.
yeah, I mean, I've noticed that the way the map is drawn is, like, suspiciously we're not looking at that eastern half of Izo. And I'm like, is that going to, like, expand back later? Do we, like, backtrack? Or is that, like, saved for, like, possible DLC stuff? It's fine. You know, and if it isn't, it's okay. There's a few other things we can look at. But, yeah, it is interesting to think about, like, we talked a little about the seasonal pattern, right? And we weren't sure what, the Izo Fields and, you know, the shadow of Mount Yotei and stuff is supposed to be. I can say now definitively that that's supposed to be summer, which means Ishikari is fall and Toshi is winter. Because when you get to Oshima Coast, it is definitely spring because there are cherry blossoms fucking everywhere.
Ah, okay, then, okay.
Yeah, so I think it's a weird case where, like, I think this was mentioned last week, but, like, the Oni's name is above the Kitsune's, like, when you wrote it, and it is fall, then winter, and then back around to spring. But also, the game really is, like, designed to be open-ended in that way. Like, I literally got dialogue when I was sneaking into the Saito training fortress about having taken out 3 members of the Yotei 6, right? So, like...
Oh, yeah, no, things are very progression-based, because I remember when I was going, through the, I was talking to, I can't remember his name all of a sudden.
Lord Kitamori?
Yes, when I was talking to Lord Kitamori, he's like, so you're the woman who took out the snake. Anatsu just pops in, and the kitsune. So it's like, no, they definitely have, you know, changing dialogue depending on what, like, who you've defeated and whatnot. So...
Yeah, it's very interesting, because, like, they could have easily done it the way that, like I said, I think they... At some point, they did design a certain kind of, like, idea that, like, obviously, like we said, the thematic of, like, the seasons, well, you know, fall, then winter kind of a thing. But they really did, well, hedge their bets, right? Like, they wrote all this extra dialogue and probably some extra scripting to double-check these things. Obviously, like, it's funny that, like, I'm here, you know, I'm in quote-unquote chapter 2 of the game, I'm working my way towards fighting, you know, the spider and the dragon and stuff, and, like... Fucking Saito outlaws are still like, so this is the woman who killed the snake, huh? And it's like, guys, I have done so much more than that. But, you know, that's what happens when you kind of, like, record all these combat barks piecemeal and just dump them all in a big hopper, right?
Right.
And they do still occasionally make sure to, you know, ask me about, you know, the Oni and the Kitsune and stuff. I definitely think that, like, I do want to try a second playthrough at some point just to do them in a different order. Because I am very curious what the like dialogue dips are on the other side of, you know, do the Oni part first.
Yeah.
For reasons that I don't want to say, but are very interesting. Like I said, we'll have a full episode when we're both fully done with it, because there's a lot going on with the story, and I think there's even more. I mean, hey, guess what, buddy? Going to Oshima Coast, we got there's more.
There's more.
They. I mean, this is why this game has put me back in the Legend of the Five Rings mood, but Ghost of Yotei, even more so than Ghost of Tsushima, really hits you on the samurai drama stuff. Like, so many things in Atsu's life are so melodramatic, and you're just like, I mean, you know, I mentioned this briefly last week, but, you know, plot arcs with Lord Kitamori, I said before, like, literally moments before that happens in the story, I'm thinking to myself, you know, we haven't really answered the question of where, you know, such and such character went. I kind of assumed, but... And then the game is like, yeah. And then, of course, as you do more flashbacks with more characters, you kind of understand how things go. I think literally this is why we put Rashomon on the list last week, or the movie list last week, was you do this kind of nonlinear storytelling thing. Like, there was a question about continuity last week, let's say, and like, no, the Oni stuff happens earlier than the Kitsune stuff, and there's some stuff in the middle that Lucky hasn't seen yet, so I won't, like I said, I won't get into.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting, and I'm kind of curious to see as these flashbacks keep coming together. But yeah, it's a fun game. Having all the weapons is fun. Like I said, I did get far enough in Oshima Coast to get both the musket and the pistol. The pistol's a quick fire, so it's very funny to just fucking draw down on people. You know, guy prepares his unblockable attack, and you just go, no, bang. It's fun. I do feeling that I am now like scooching ahead of you a little. I'm like, I feel like I can, you know, I don't need to go as ham. I have heard other people finishing, so I've been trying to do a little more in, but we can log a little more vintage story time, or like you said, maybe even play more Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
But yes, we will, as always, have more to talk about Ghost of Yotei, I think, when we're both done with the story. But overall, very, very strong game.
Yes. No, unfortunately, last weekend, I said, you know what, this weekend, I'm not gonna play Ghost of Yotei. I'm gonna take a break for that. I'm gonna play Coral Island some more and get my Farm Life Sim on. And I didn't put it down. I was like, shit.
You went back in the hole and you played a lot of Coral Island. Well, you
Yes.
mentioned you're focused on several games. Do you have anything to say about your time in Coral Island?
I mean, I still, honestly, I know some people will, try to drag me out back and shoot me, but I do genuinely think it's a better game than Stardew Valley. I genuinely think it's a better game than Stardew Valley.
I mean, I think we've said this. Stardew's very strong, but also, it is a project by one guy, and it is very clearly meant to be, his specific vision.
No, Coral Island has, it takes everything that's great about, Stardew Valley, then adds on it. I unlocked the technology that gives me automated chests, which you put them next to one of the machines that, make stuff, and it will take stuff out and put them back in. And if you put them in a row, it makes a fucking conveyor belt that will do it for all the machines in the line. So you can have, a machine duplicating, ore or the kelp, which is, an alternate, upgrade material. And then have coal in the chest. And when you have enough to do it, it'll take the coal and the ore and put it to a furnace if you have it all hooked up. I'm like, oh, fun. Little automation stuff. I've unlocked some, additional mechanics. I don't really necessarily want to spoil them in case other people are playing the game. Where I've unlocked a whole new farm system that uses different rules and different tools. The hangout system's really cool and fun. In a lot of these games we have plants, and we have seed plants that grow stuff, and then we have trees. But Coral Island has this in between plant thing where you get things like bananas, papayas, and jackfruit, dragon fruit, things that are tree-like but don't actually grow as full-on trees like you do apples, oranges, and mangoes and stuff. And those take on their own 2x2 plant or seasonal, unlike trees which grow once over a month and then just stay forever. So no, there's a lot more depth. There's a lot more depth, and the characters, I think, there's so many more characters, and there's so much more detailed. There's a lot of times you'll go see a scene with them. You'll run to the location to proc the scene. You're not actually in the scene. You're just seeing these two people go about their life or dealing with something in their lives. You're not involved in it. You're just seeing their lives. So, and I think that's important, that people have a life outside of you, the main character. Things happen when you're not there.
Yeah, that's definitely more vaguely implied in Stardew. Not to knock on Stardew. It is a great game.
No, I've put a bajillion hours in Stardew. I'm
yeah, and it really I think it really revitalized that specific genre, because the reason why he made Stardew Valley was because nobody else was making that style of game at the time that was really big.
Harvest Moon and Story of Season were doing weird things, and we don't get a lot of rune factories.
But I do also think, in general, a lot of Stardew's, mechanics and characters and, interpersonal stuff is kind of, slow and steady creation from one person, over time, and kind of, input back from the community to, cultivate NPCs and stuff like that, right? And
yeah, and I do that Coral Island does kind of have a narrative. It's not a super strong narrative. It's just that you're trying to get the town back on its feet while the evil corporation pufferfish, lurks in the background. They're not actively malicious, but they're trying stuff. They're trying to get the island so they can build, giant oil rig company stuff here. And and you're not directly fighting them, but by you doing everything you do, you give the island more reason not to do those things. So it's pretty cool. I did find out you can date multiple partners. Lucky currently has 3 girlfriends. I'll probably get up that number to 6. I think I can only marry one of them, though. Which, I go, fair. The reason why polygamy is generally not accepted in the U.S., not because it is socially and morally wrong, is because it fucks with the legal system and tax laws.
Yes. Well, also, I think some of it does have to do with a religious history in this country, where I'm fairly certain that the current establishment is that there's certain restrictions involved, but also yes, it is not governmentally encouraged because it makes planning things a pain in the butt.
It actually does.
I actually looked into this. Trying to deal with multiple spouses on taxes, property laws, and inheritance things makes things a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, it's just like the system just isn't set up for it, and it is a thing where, like, at least in our current modern culture, it's not that widespread that people would want to use that option to make it worth overhauling everything.
No, it's not. So I appreciate the game. It's like, yeah, you can date like multiple people, but you can only marry one. I was all like, nah, that's fair. I dig it. Thank you for letting me do that at least.
Yeah, thanks for at least leaving it open-ended,
Yeah.
I appreciate when games give you flexibility, but also don't enforce these things. I remember the terror of the original run of P3, where every female social link is a mandatory romance, and woo boy, dating, what was it, like 6 or 7 girls? Maybe 8?
One wrong move, reverse that Arcana. You're fucked, baby.
Yeah, no, it was a landmine.
Just walking that razor wire.
There was some reliance on the old game facts back in the day. Not a lot though, because fun fact, I don't know if some people struggle with this, but to talk about like relationship building being improved in games, building relationships in Persona games is not that hard. You pick the dialogue option that the person across from you wants to hear the most, even if it's dumb, which is especially true in P3. Not just for girls, but also even for several of my guy friends. Looking at you, delusional friend in class and disciplinary guy in the student council.
You are not getting with that teacher. Why are you planning this?
I do like some people have a fan interpretation that the protagonist of P3 is just kind of like either sarcastically or just deadpanly going along with this guy.
I like the deadpan idea personally. She's just like
he's like, I'm gonna get with that teacher, and just like, yeah, sure, man. Anyway, thanks for treating me to ramen again.
Bye.
That's the true high school experience. You're just doing it for the free food, bro.
You need that. But what was I gonna say? I was gonna talk more about Coraline a little bit. Shit. I lost my train of thought because we were giggling about P3.
You were talking about it giving you relationship options.
Yeah, it's giving me relationship options, and the hangouts are fun. Yeah,
I think I brought this up. It is not dancing on a minefield to do this, right?
No, I remember what it was. Yes, thank you. That actually did spark what it was. Like when you have conversations, you have options to say your stuff. It doesn't actually matter what you say. So you can just say, you can crack jokes, you can be sarcastic, you can actually be a little bit of a shit. Actually, I'm pretty sure if you're a little bit of a shit, that actually might lose you points. I don't know. Lucky very rarely feels the need to be a shit in the game. Lucky's a shit enough in real life. I play games to not be a shit. So I usually feel pretty comfortable about, being a little sarcastic and cracking jokes with people, not necessarily worrying if this is going to maximize my affection meter. Which is a problem I definitely have in playing Persona games. I'm like, oh man, I only got like 1 fucking pip out of that? Son of a bitch, reload.
I mean,
I know it's a 3
Persona doesn't help itself because you're on a literal fucking time. I know it's a whole year, but you're on a literal time limit, okay?
Yeah, it is. So it's just like one of those things I don't ever feel pressure to make the right choice. I'm able to express myself, as I would. Which is usually with a little sarcasm and a little humor.
It's nice.
So I've been putting a lot of time into that. Like I said, I am probably, now that we're at the weekend again, I'm probably going to switch back to Ghost of Yotei and probably power through that for the next week. But something that I'll probably be playing all that while at the same time is Venture Story. I did note that Omega wrote it down here and put a very funny subtitle on it.
I actually had to workshop the subtitle because my first 2 cracks, I was like, no, that's probably not. I should not leave this as out of context jokes. My first crack was Lucky versus the job market, and then I was like, wait.
No.
Lucky versus the specter of capitalism? No, that's still too real. I can say them out loud in the moment on the show. I don't want to leave them in the notes. So I settled on Lucky versus the medieval labor force with an extra U.
Axe can't handle frozen time, asking Aaron to just freeze it for him like 10 minutes.
Well, he does want to do some smithing stuff, unfortunately. It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, so do I. But I'm okay to wait.
We'll unfreeze soon. Well, I don't know how much longer the show will go. I hope the show doesn't go like it probably will go like a full ass hour longer, but I hope it doesn't go like a full hour longer. Like we're still going ahead because I do want to get some more stuff in Vintage Story done, but also I do have to sleep normally, me being in the future.
It's true.
Well, Rain shouldn't take too long, and we might talk a little bit about Rogue Trader at the end. But Vintage Story goes along. We're fully into year 1, I guess. We were in year 0 before. I never really paid attention, but we've completed 1 year in our server. It's good. It's great. Things are going. They're going.
They are going.
Look, yes.
Progress is made.
Lucky I've had some recent thoughts and had to get some shit off his chest earlier. We are kind of past that now. Kind of. But it is. But Lucky has started basically pre-work on what is going to be our studio makeup mod for Vintage Story. It is going to be the job progression system, which we are basically going to combine working classes with X skills to make a new system that is a little bit more flexible and a little bit more rewarding, I want to say. The basic idea of it is to basically remove the classes as is in-game and give you a point-based progression system in classes that you want. Like, he even came up with a lovely little flowchart for them. But basically, you'll start as one of 5 very basic classes. We might give them fancy names to make them more lore-friendly, but they are, sorry, I was trying to remember them in alphabetical order, but it's basically Hunter, Gatherer, Mystic, Crafter, and Warrior. Basically, you have your crafting class, your fighting bad guys class, your fighting animals class, your getting stuff class, and your funky class. As you do activities that relate to each one of these 5 things, you'll get experience points in that, and give you a general level in that thing. So doing things like making healing items or crafting or using healing items will give you Mystic XP, or cooking will give you Mystic XP. Doing combat with drifters and whatnot will give you combat XP. Fighting animals, harvesting their goods, or capturing and feeding animals, that will give you Hunter XP. Gathering berries, other forage, chopping down trees, all that stuff gives you Gatherer. Crafter, doing pottery, getting involved in smithing, all that stuff gives you Crafter. As you do this, you get points, and you start putting them into trees. Like, each one of the 5 basic classes will have their own tree, but as you get enough points in it, you will unlock the ability to gather into other trees. For example, in the Crafter tree, once you get, I'm not entirely sure of the levels. We haven't got to the number crunching part yet, or the coding part. We are still in the... I had the word for a second, and I lost it immediately.
I don't know if it's what you're looking for. We are still, I guess you'd call this the pre-production phase, because it's like we're planning, we're sketching it out.
Yeah, we're still in the planning phase of what we want this to do exactly. But the intent of it is you will gather lines in the gathering class and get so many levels in it, you'll be able to access new classes. For example, from Gatherer, you'll be able to become a forester, or a farmer, or a miner, and whatnot. In Crafter classes, you'll be able to become, a potter, a smith, and stuff. From a mystic, you'll be able to become a cook or a healer, stuff like this. And there is a tier 3 to those, but those haven't been finalized, as we play with a lot of mods, and some mods add some things that are very nice, but at the same time, we don't know if it's going to be necessarily the bestest. So again, working on things. I had to realize that I had to overhaul what the combat was, because basic Vintage Story doesn't actually have a lot of weapons. It's a little bad about that, but it's fine. It's fine. We'll figure it out.
Who knows? Maybe it will be like a weapon class thing. And honestly, I think you said earlier you want to build a system that's not dependent on other mods. That's probably a good way to do it, is to make it not dependent and then add compatibility later. It could be a thing that we, add the taking into account the guns and crossbows stuff later.
Because I like X skills, and I like the concept of working classes, but working classes also relies on its own mod dependencies, and X skill literally has its own independent library that it needs to work with. So a lot of things get messed up, and some things just aren't balanced right. I was actually thinking about this, in X skills, you have the Bloomery Expert skill, which is very nice, you realize, for, saving bloomeries and stuff, but then I realized it kind of trivializes the iron production, because you aren't ever worried about not having bloomeries, as you never need to worry about them. I believe that when I do our smithing, you won't have
You will still have some sort of bloomery expert, but it won't that your bloomeries will not be unbreakable. It's just that you'll get more bricks back per bloomery. Because
I think we talked about that, making it so that it's close to possibly random chance that it might be a 1-to-1 or like -1-to-1, so it will like consume less resources in the long term.
But the resources thing is still there.
Honestly, talking about the unbalanced, X skills is fucking crazy. Like, it's cool, but also is just like so out there. Like, how many times have we told the story, both on the podcast and just over ourselves, of just like, so I was smithing and just duplicator fired, so I got 2 of something.
Yeah, no. Like, I like the idea of finishing something interesting. I like the idea of, getting extra bits off, like, when you smith, because I think that makes sense. But the ability to just duplicate an item, I'm just all like, oh, no, that's gotta go. I know it's a low chance, but it has happened more than once for me. And now I just have duplicates of things just sitting around doing nothing. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, it's just,
so
like, it's really neat, but it's a thing that's, like, clearly made for, like, playing the game in a different way than we play it. Like...
Yeah.
Honestly, I wonder if X Skills is more designed for like as a single player mod than a multiplayer mod.
Sometimes I think it is, but no, there's like a lot of good things in X Skills, and I am probably going to copy and steal a lot of them and modify them to play. Because
I mean, if nothing else, I hope hopefully we can look at the code for X Skills to see how, because they built a whole menu, right?
Well, yeah, no. Fun fact: X Skills, you can actually input your own custom things into X Skills and have it show up. That's how you can get the hydrate or dihydrates add-ons into there. Because the thirst ones in the survival tree are not native. Those only appear if you have hydrate or dihydrate. And other people have built stuff into. There's whole X skill things. But like I said, I want to do something a little bit different from X skills in that I don't want anything game breaking. I want basically a bunch of small little things that add up as you get better in the thing. Because like, I always feel really weird about games where you like start with like the trait. Like, there's like in fucking like God, I found this really weird. A mod that's been gaining popularity is the traits mod. Basically, someone took the Project Zomboid system of picking traits and put that into Vintage Story. They said, yeah, I never play with any of the other classes. I just always play a commoner. I'm just like, I never used X skills. I'm all like, what are you doing in this game then? Just being super boring?
I mean, I can see though why, because like the I honestly think the vanilla classes are good. The problem is that, especially if you were playing by yourself, like they do have like mutual exclusivity, so it is kind of that question of like, oh well, do I play like, what is it, Malefactor for the sling and getting the extra stuff, or do I play Tailor so I can actually like make clothing repair kits instead of having to find a trader who are by default like a gajillion blocks apart,
Like, well, that's the thing about in single player, you can turn off like class exclusive recipes and get access to everything. So
it's true.
Like,
I suspect that's what a lot of people do, and then it's probably just like picking a class that has positives and negatives that fit your playstyle. And some people will be I want neither positives nor negatives.
So, but like I saw that and I was just all like, man, I couldn't. So basically, I want a system of progression in Vintage Story that lets you really feel like you're doing the thing that you want to do. Like if you do more particular things, it should reflect in the job professions you have. Because this is the thing I always hate about games. Like, you are not the same person forever.
Yeah.
Like, if you do something enough, you should get better at it. And X-Skill does a fairly passable job at doing that, but is also fairly limited. And as I talked about before with mods are always, the mods you play with are always subject to the whims of its creator and their sense of balance and mechanics.
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot, that, like, obviously, X-Skills is kind of rare in that it has, I think, some level up selections that are pretty strong and arguably, like, break the normal economy of the game. That's not usually how Vintage Story mods go.
Yeah.
Usually Vintage Story mods make things more complicated or harder for no real reason. God, even, we didn't look at it at all for ours because I already knew that it was fucked up, but, like, I remember that was a big deal in the Vintage Story server that Rubik's Raptor and the Ignis Boys just wrapped up their first season of Ren, where they had a mod to make combat harder because they have some guys who are pretty good at combat. They thought they were, Billy Badasses, right? So they installed Rustbound. they had like fucking multiple sessions where because of the mob spawns, the elves were real fucked up because they were constantly being besieged by horrible overleveled monsters that were not designed to be killed in a system where, you know, the elves weren't supposed to be super smithing. And it's like, yeah, that's usually how Vintage Story mods goes. Literally, we had bitching about combat overhaul changing Taylor and Gambesons earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's just because some people, like, there are probably people who do nothing but play Vintage Story literally all the time. They may be too good at Vintage Story. But I don't know, man. You don't need to compensate for them necessarily.
Ooh, I'm rubber banding really hard. I'm gonna get out of Vintage Story for a moment. But yeah, so mod work has begun. Lucky knows nothing about coding though, so this is going to be a very slow process.
Luckily, I think I'm pretty sure everything in Vintage Story is based in Java.
Yeah, it's Java. So hopefully it won't be too hard to learn, but now I have to sorry, Vintage Story has inspirational quotes at their menu screen, and the one right now it is hard to fail, but it's worse to have never tried to succeed. I don't get it. It is hard to fail, but it is worse to never have tried to succeed.
It's a very funny way of saying it, yeah.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I leave other motivational quotes like that one. I think one from earlier today was, I don't care if there's a storm, I'm learning to sail on the sea.
Like I said, our V3 continues to go apace. We'll probably still be in it for a while. Like I said, there are been some personal complications, and I don't think we necessarily get into, but Lucky had a little bit of a blow up at people earlier, and I have set new rules for myself, so hopefully things will be a little bit better, well, for my ongoing end. How if anything will be better for everyone else, I don't fucking know.
I don't know, but hopefully we're working on it. We're still trying to stimulate and to simulate our economy and like figure out our shit.
So, as always, there's no perfect answers.
No.
That's enough on Vintage Story. We don't want to tear here over long. Like I said, we did play Rain last week. It was very fun. Speaking of other days of Lucky getting frustrated. Lucky's getting frustrated several days now. I might need to take a step back from shit and just decompress at some point.
It happens. So sometimes you got to detox yourself. I know you said on Wednesday, like with 14, you were just like, nah, I'm not in that kind of mood today. I'm just gonna be by myself.
No, I think it's been a little bit warranted. I just need to step away from shit for a little bit. But we did Rain. We had our climax of our current Fogvale arc. It was very fun.
AP out now. I remembered at 7:30 to post it.
But like I said, we fought D1 hates Aaron. He tried several times to shoot a boar. It did not.
I mean, I
was going to get his cool ass melee on. Did some cool things. Again, I do think before we get out to Keltacy, I am going to try and master Hell Hooks, because Hell Hook is actually a very fun tree that lets you do some very stuff. Enos is very much a technical.
You got a couple of tricks in that were good.
No, yeah.
I think, thinking back, I want to say if you hear me in the AP, you can probably hear me in real time. I'm a little short about the combat. I'm a little snippy when it ends, maybe a little faster than I was anticipating. But I actually start crunching the math and realize that it was not necessarily like an instant one-man show. You know, a couple of you guys did contribute to it.
Oh yeah, no, I did some damage, and other people did some damage, but one person did a lot of damage.
Yeah.
So.
And it's not like we weren't trying to do damage, but it is one of those things we talked about, right? Where we're like, I think I tried to phrase it later when we were talking about it. It's one of those moments of people get concerned, am I contributing? Am I part of the team? Am I doing the thing? And it's like, I think that's a valid concern, but you can't be so concerned that you're contributing, that you contribute to everything, because the other people have to contribute too. You gotta hold up that mirror to yourself and be like, yeah. But also, what about other people? What if other people feel like they're contributing or not?
No,
I think most everybody, I should say, I didn't actually do that much. That's why I said I was a little snippy, because I was thinking about this earlier, right? I don't want to actually kill you guys, because character death in a narrative is really annoying.
Yep.
It ends all their plot hooks, and then we got to introduce new characters and shit. But I occasionally like to put the fear of God into you,
I mean, I think it's important. That's what we call tension.
Yeah. There is that tension, and there is that very real risk to the character, and it's true. If, as players, you don't feel threatened, it's hard to portray your characters like you feel threatened, So you got to put a little bit of that tension in, that little bit of bite. And there were some real risks in there, but you guys managed to handle it very well. Like I said at the end of the fight later, and I said this later as well, I was like, honestly, from an in-character perspective, this fight was super textbook. Like, you guys did your plan very well. I don't think anybody actually did anything, like, crazy reckless and stupid.
I think I'm not sure about this, but I'm pretty sure me calling out Dallas about him trying to wrestle fuck everything made him actually, shoot things with a bow multiple times instead of shooting it once and trying to get into a fight with it.
He did actually, not only did he fire once and then it was like, oh, that didn't work, but he was still like, no, I'll stay back.
No.
Because this was a separate discussion, which we did talk about where, yes, you were a little sassy about it. You were nettled.
I was.
It's not that Nicola doesn't fire his bow in retrospect. And like I said, people listening, you'll hear the argument. You let me know better because those who like listen to the whole APs possibly multiple times probably have a better grasp than this. The thing is that I think that I brought this up. I think that it's much more forgettable that Nicola fires his bow because, you didn't say it outright at the time, but you said it just now. He planned to fire multiple times rather than switch to wrestling when the first one didn't work out as well. Usually he will fire like once or twice in quick succession. And then maybe switch to melee, or, the whole fight will be over and he'll go to melee in the next fight. And it's like, even though he has a very advanced school in it, a very advanced martial path, he's usually pretty vanilla. He's just like, we'll shoot. Maybe we'll call shot. We add some extra damage for this thing and just move on. And when we talk about this, like, when Dallas says Nicola is planning, like, melee stuff, like, unarmed stuff, he's like, okay, we're going to do a grapple move. I'm going to slam him or push him. I'm going to punch him, like, 3 times. I'm going to cast a spell, so I'm fucking Mr. Electric, and then punch him. Like, he goes a lot more ham on the unarmed stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I do think that he does use his bow a decent amount of time, but it is definitely not a narrative focus, right? Like, we don't go in depth on it. But he definitely did stick to the guns more and stuck to it. But yeah, we talked about this. The D1 really hated Aaron, which was sad for him, I'm sure. And also, I was always like, I feel bad about it when the dice just don't like you.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do the thing. But like I said, in character, you guys did this very professionally. Like, there was a little bit of, like, scuffling and shuffling at the start of, like, okay, who's going to set up here? Who's going to do what? Are you going to be visible? And people kind of holding back. There were some setup turns. And this came out through narrative where I brought up that, like, I did have a timer on the fight, effectively, in that I had an NPC who would make sure the fight probably ended at a certain point. It's intensity 5. She could have whiffed.
It's true.
But, it kind of came to an unexpected sudden end.
Yeah, because I think the plan was that the boss was supposed to be, quite scary, get some things in. Like, I interrupted its momentum in my move, because I actually got it to, knock it down. It's kind of hard for it to, do attacks on the ground. But, and after that, everyone just, kind of laid into it. We had Conrad, Nicola and Leslock, doing range, and then we had Enos and Logesh and melee. Everhelm was also on ranged, and Fiona was doing Hand of God. So, like, we were, like, fairly, like, random. And I do like the idea that you basically said, all the other NPCs are fighting the other boards. I'm like, cool, awesome. We do not need 800 more combatants in this fucking combat.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. Like, I think you guys are competent enough, especially since I've kind of, like, refactored I built a new cheat sheet to the combat rules to hopefully compress down all the different maneuvers you can do.
Oh no, I was definitely referencing it constantly.
Because the rules are a little freaky. But it's also, like, I think this game is designed to be a little too swingy. I definitely need to, like, think more about a couple of, like, extra combatants there, like switch it up. Like, like I said, character death should be a risk, but I don't ever try to go out of my way to kill you guys because that would be as much a headache for me as for you.
Mm-hmm.
But risks are important, and it is just like, even if it'll make the combat longer, we need to put a little bit of dynamicism in there. Even if it is one enemy, they should either be, like, really, really tough, or should have some kind of significant instant, like terrain effects, like some kind of interesting thing going on that distracts from the fight.
Well, that is one of the things. We do have, like, 60 plus sections, 60 something. What number are we at right now?
62 was the one that was just posted.
Yeah, we have 62 sessions of, experience and all that stuff. So we're not Like, I don't know, like, what is the expected game length for a Rain game? At some point, you know, you just have so much stuff that you can buy so many things and stuff. Like, I haven't reached that saturation point there. I haven't, like, bought all my esoterics. I haven't bought all my spells. And my skills are mostly where I want them, but I'm still looking at getting more, like, knowledge and, you know, expert skills to, you know, broaden, you know, what I know and stuff. So there's still things I want to buy. But, you know, in combat, I'm pretty fucking effective. I'm pretty good.
Yeah, I think most people are effective.
It's like one of those reasons why it's like, man, I need to make myself weaker. Like, I can't be good at everything in combat, because then guess what? That means other people don't necessarily get the same time to shine. I was like, I was talking about this to Axe earlier. I was like, hey, Axe, where do you want Enos in the fight? I can do both ranged and melee. And I'm just like, because Enos has the heavy arbalest, which is, you know, very nice.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a gun. It's like it's not quite a gun, but it's, you know, it's a lot faster to shoot. That could have, like, also been, like, very crazy. I'm all like, I was thinking about it later. It's like, yeah, this thing is nice, but again, it makes me, you know, very much an all-rounder in combat. It's like, I do not have this particular niche. I kind of like the idea of Enos being a melee guy, because Enos is fragile. He only has one AR, maybe two if he has the proper ring. He has some very finicky defenses, but if he just gets hit by just a thing, he takes a lot of damage. So I like that kind of glass cannonness to him. So it's like one of those things of like, yeah, I could stay back and just shoot things, but then, you know, I've completely eliminated the risk, and guess what? There's a lot of other people who also shoot really well. There's also a lot of people who also do melee really well too, but, you know, if I had to pick which one I want to be good at, I like dual-wielding chains. It's cool. It's fun. It's freaky. It's technical.
And it gives you some flexibility. Like, we've discussed the nature of, like, them as kind of, like, a reach and trip weapon, you know? Because we're not on squares, so there's a little bit of narrative wiggle room in there. It's definitely one of those things where, like, I've talked about this. I've mentioned before, like, you know, because of Ghost of Yotei, I've been a little bit more in my L5R mood as well, and, like, re-examining all those stuff. That's a very fun thing that, like, is one of the basic techniques in that book is soaring slice. Is just huck a weapon at somebody. And it's like, yeah, even if you're a melee-focused guy, quick drawing a knife to throw at people, just, you know, so you have it, and not even like a throwing knife, like, literally, you can just snap draw Tonto in that game. They're concealable. They can be... a lot of people forget that, but that means that you can, you know, draw them from their concealment very easily. But, like, that's just really good because it's a cheap early technique you can access just in case you feel like you really need to hit somebody at range. That's how I feel similarly in Rain. It's like, you should probably have some kind of distance option for when you're like, oh shit, I really need to hit this guy at range, you know, right now. But I think you were asking about this. Like, what's the range of, like, throwing? And I'm like, I think it's 60 feet. It's short range, so anywhere under 60 feet.
I mean, that's still pretty good. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna swap out my, you know, weapon bow for weapon knife, because I was double checking, and, like, for instance, you could say use knife or throw, and I was like, all right, Enos won't be able to throw everything, but he can flick a fucking knife.
Yeah,
and I think that will do it, because guess what? The weapons on the ends of his chains are bill hooks, which are knife anyway. So
yeah,
it'll be very good if he ever gets disarmed of his chain. Whatever. Enos' plan is very much so to go muck around in that pond outside Auntie Tree and find that fucking Metagrease fucking machete and turn it into the throwing knives. It's gonna be very funny.
It was a troll-sized machete, so yeah, that's probably a couple of knives in there. You don't need a lot of you truly do not need a lot of length for knife.
No. Like
I think Aurelia's Metagrease like hairpin knife is like, I think I said it's only like a couple inches.
Yeah, but it's very much a surprise. It's very much a surprise weapon.
Yeah. And that, I mean, you know, talking about, like, layered narrative, right? That's the whole point of it is Yerwin Wayland had it made because she, you know, picked up some Metagrease and sent it back to Ike, and I think the two of the sisters collaborated and were just like, all right, we'll make something nice for Aurelia. She's kind of, you know, Yerwin's patron. You know, now she's her, you know, or Yerwin is Aurelia's, you know, lady in waiting. What would Aurelia like that's made of Metagrease? Not like a cool ring or like a little shield or something. No, we'll give her a tiny knife as a backup, in case.
Hey, it came in handy. But no, so Enos is going to... I'm probably not going to give Forenza's touch, because I'm probably not going to be relying on that much. Also, I'm going to put fucking Soaring Steel on those fucking knives. They're going to be perfectly fine as is. That's all I need.
No, it's pretty cool. This was a separate conversation that's not directly related, but I think is important for why Soaring Steel is good. Like, Axe was talking about how he was like... He made a deliberate choice not to buy expert dice or master dice in certain combat skills, you know, as kind of like both a mechanical and a character separation to be like, you know, I'm not an expert or master of this. But I did bring up that, like, once you buy enough dice in a skill, that unfortunately doesn't matter mechanically, because you're still just rolling a lot of dice. You roll like 7 or 8 dice, you're going to make a match every single time. You roll 10 dice, you're probably going to get a cool match. Sometime, the dice are weird. Like, did Dallas roll 3 6s on like 5 or 6 dice again last session? I think he did.
I think he did. I think he also rolled a straight at some point, too.
Also true, yes. That was another thing where he basically rolled a straight on like 7 dice. Dice are chaotic, but when you hit 10 dice, you're definitely making a match. It's like the odds of getting the 1 through 10 straight are astronomically bad. And you're probably going to get multiple sets, which is actually important, because I think this was the first fight where we actually employed the rule that was like, hey, even if you soak all damage, you still lose a die from your set. Like, you can actually bully armored targets out of making matches, which I think is important.
Yeah.
To clarify. So, like, there's a certain point where just once you have enough points, you're just in it, and, you know, that's where you're at. And I have ideas for, like, how NPCs grow.
No.
But in general, there's a certain level, and I respect the idea to be like, no, I don't want to call myself a master at this, you know? But like I said, at a certain point, you get too many dice, you're just rolling 6.
After all, why shouldn't I? Why shouldn't I change my fucking, my fucking use 1 experience to upgrade this to a master die? It's like, I spent the points on it, I'm gonna fucking use it. But other things, it's definitely all like, it's why, like, even though, like, I am I'm very much interested in having Enos, get a lot more knowledge in, like, sorcery and teaching, all that stuff. I've been very slow on buying the points in that, just because it's kind of a growing thing. It's like, this is like Enos' growing thing as he discovers, how he loves, history and magic and, the world that came before, and discovers all these things and, works on solving these mysteries and stuff. Like, I'm still flabbergasted that, Justin, I send, part of, Teen Girl Squad out, and they come back with another relic, and just like, oh, well, now we're at 2 of, 12?
Yeah. Yeah,
we're at 2 of 12. This has implications.
And you guys are handling that in character, and that's the thing of, like, and that's why I always kind of intended it to be there, even when you guys were possibly going yourselves. I wrote that backstory for that night and was like, yeah, we can probably tuck that in there. That's the guy who fits there. But definitely out of character, it was supposed to do a little bit of that thing of being like, no, this is totally a thing that you can work with here. There's a whole expanse here. And obviously, you guys debated it in the session. You can watch it to see their full talk. But, you could technically just, donate these all back somewhere, right? And just be rid of their concern. But you also have things, so, you still have the goods.
I do want the goods, and I want a magical chalice. It exists. It has to exist. I believe it exists. I'm gonna get fucking Indiana Jones here at the end. Just you wait.
Well, better than doing the glory stones and, you betrayed Shiva. Fall into a river full of crocodiles. Where the stock footage of the crocodiles is very different than the footage of the bridge. No, it's fun. And like you said, there were some as usual, because it's funny. I think Dallas told us, oh yeah, we got to get started early. I have like a hard out, but we still went for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
So like, when we're in there for a while, when we're simultaneously trying to be timely but also spend a lot of time, I think it does wear on us a little.
No.
We're a lot more relaxed and we're more chill and we're just going at whatever pace.
Yeah. But
it did have some strong stuff. But yeah, we're taking a little break there.
We're taking a little break there. Like I said, I'm very keen on it, but we're coming up to a big tentpole that has been over a year in the making. We're finally getting into Summer Court. There's going to be a lot of events. Hopefully we can streamline it a little bit better than we did the Dragon Festival. And to that end, I think Omega is actually taking some time so he can write properly and plan properly. So we are going to be doing something that we've been talking about. We are switching over to the Tabletop Rogue Trader. Aaron is going to be our GM. He is somewhat excited. I've been talking to him. He's been spending the day actually fleshing out story NPCs. So
That's good. We have fun.
Yeah.
Goodness knows the NP thing is important. Yeah, like I've done a little bit of like work on to prep for Summer Court already, because I said I was like, I did that thing where like one afternoon I was like, well, I'm supposed to be working on Summer Court. So I started working on actually doing the guest list, right? And then the moment I had to like generate some extra NPC names, I was like, oh yeah, we're taking a lot of time on this. I want to go play Ghost of Yotei. Shit, the Vintage Story server's open.
No, so taking some time to do this stuff is probably for the best, because again, one of those things you don't want to necessarily rush the creative. It's like it's good to have deadlines, but you also don't want to necessarily crunch the creative process either.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking Aaron in chat saying he's thinking about maybe 4 sessions of Rogue Trader. If he thinks 4, that means it's going to be 6.
It's probably good. I think he said that we could do the original Benison Island in 1, and we did not. We did do a little bit of running around there, though. Listen, they were freaking dinosaurs.
Has responded with at least in caps.
At least 4. So we probably won't roll criticals and accidentally get it done in 3.
Probably not, knowing our luck.
Yeah, we haven't really been trying out our percentiles. It's been a little bit since I've been in a player seat. I think it's been since Benison Island 2.
No, this is one of those things I've realized about myself. Lucky would like to run tabletop, but I want to run tabletop to tell a story that I want to tell, and not necessarily be a fan of the players, which is where I come with a lot of conflict in. Which is, it's kind of a failing on my part, but it's one that I've kind of accepted. So I kind of gotta, write a story around that, which is a lot harder because no playing surprise contacted with the players.
It's true. I also, like you say, it's probably a personal failing that is kind of a thing that a lot of GM philosophy over the years has been against, is like, I have to be a fan of the players, encourage this kind of moment. But there's also a long, storied history of GMs who just write their own stories and have the players bumble through it. I think there can be games that are written to that. If you take it to the eye, where basically the players are like the narrative sounding board, and you're like, okay, how do I adjust my story to the bullshit they do?
No.
But you gotta be careful with that, because if it gets too adversarial, then it's that's not fun for anybody.
And that's the thing. Lucky would get too adversarial because I've talked about this. Lucky is a person who thrives on conflict and consequences, and so it's very much a thing where I have to think about it. Like I said, maybe once I actually get forgot the name of the fucking space game I was working on. It's not going to be Red Mist. Red Mist is going to be a much more technical, crunchy game. But Google Docs, what was the name of my fucking space opera game? Fucking hell me. Celestial Seas. That's what it was. Tales in Romantic Space. Like I said, I'm trying to write a tabletop that captures kind of the feel of Treasure Planet. But once I get that into beta, I'll try my hand at it again. Again, this is one of the many creative projects that Lucky, constantly thinks about and works very, 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 very slow on. Especially as I'm trying to import, other systems into it. Like, I'm thinking the base is going to be Genesis, but we're going to use Red Market's, upkeep and probably Rain's wealth system to, squish economy.
Economics are always a very complex,
I was like, also, I've been looking at the profit factor, and I do kind of like profit factor, but I think having the wealth system will probably be easier on it if you're. Ugh.
I mean, if you need to turn it into a role, like making it a wealth style, like at least 1 through 6 axis, which would be Genesis, is like very doable. Profit factor works obviously because it's yet another percentage number. In the percentage system,
and
so
upkeep totally works. You just have to tweak it so it's not for a poverty simulator. If every mission you do, you suddenly take a ding to your wealth or something based upon your upkeep. Well, guess what? You have an investment in keeping your fucking wealth number up so that your upkeep doesn't eat it all.
Yeah.
Fun fact: the more money you have, generally, the more you spend in general.
I mean, and there are upkeeps not unique to red markets. It's just that Caleb Stokes very specifically tuned it because it is meant to be kind of a poverty simulator. Like, the whole point of it is, like, you are... The reason why you go out into the zombie-infested wasteland to make money is because you will die otherwise.
Yeah.
Which is, like, kind of like real life, but is different.
Yeah. So, like I said, I'm basing the idea of what I saw from red markets. I have not necessarily seen an upkeep system in other games. So that's the example I'm using. I will tweak it to my specifications as we get there.
Again, long storied history of game design, of just finding a thing you liked and then changing it a little.
But
tabletop RPGs has a long history of beg, borrowing, and stealing.
Oh yeah. Oh, speaking of which, what was the name of the fucking what was it? Transhuman Labs?
Posthuman Studios.
No. Posthuman, transhuman.
Yeah. They're very deliberate. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, no, I didn't actually know they were working on a weird fantasy game. I'm very glad that you shared that with me. Like I said, I've subscribed to the mailing list. I'm excited to see what comes of that.
Yeah, I think they said they're working on they're planning to have a Kickstarter like either late this year or early next year.
To keep an eye on that. I'm always feeling so bad when there's like a project I really enjoyed and I learned that was a Kickstarter and I was like, oh, I could have supported this? Dang.
Yeah. No, there's lots of cool stuff. I kind of wish the budget didn't work out because there's so many video games, but the Ice War of Europa guy had a Kickstarter. It's okay. It's super funded fast.
Yeah.
Because he's doing a relatively low production thing, with a pretty big meme. But hopefully that means I can pick up the final version when it's out. I still, because they still do some updates that way, but I still get emails from Delta Green, basically, because I did support their Kickstarter back in the day.
Huh. But, yeah, no, so this week, look forward to Rogue Trader. Hopefully Lucky will have perfected his orc voice by then. Not entirely sure if I will. It's a little hard. But I'm hopeful that will get some more views. Our Rogue Trader streams have been surprisingly successful. Where we usually get anywhere from like 5 to 10 guys, we've been getting upwards of 50 people watching us play a CRPG.
We usually only pull those numbers on live stream when we're doing live episodes of this show.
So the streams will continue until interest wanes, I feel.
I know we said that last time that we were probably doing only one more, but I think we are once again probably doing at least one more to get through the act.
Yeah, we will see after that because we did want to do some spooky games this month, but I don't know, man. Just 50 people showing up to the stream. I don't want to lose that.
No, it's good energy. It's the kind of thing that we, that's a rare kind of pop that we don't get a lot of. So it's like, doing spooky stuff might work or it might not work. We'll see. We'll see what stuff we do. And like I said, I have plans to get a little bit of spooky content out no matter what. I said already, and I'm prepping for doing another, story time thing and reading out some stories. And we'll see if that catches anybody's interest.
Oh, Loth made it in. But yeah, I do think that is it. Anything else you want to take care of, Omega?
No, I think that is it. I've already plugged in a few other things, and do check out the Rogue Trader streams if you have not seen them. Like I said, Reign's up, Wanted's up. Catching up a little bit on my work backlog. So yeah, I think that is all we got. Have been going for about 4 hours raw time, so it's pretty good.
Yeah,
means we should probably do an outro. Hey, speaking of the engagement and stuff, if you're watching this video, give us a like. Still trying to attract more like conversions. I know, people are worried that you'll fuck up your YouTube algorithm. Guess what? If you've watched this show for 4 hours, it's not actually going to be 4 hours. It's going to be like 3 hours, but you know what I mean. You listen to us for like 3 hours, you can hit like. It's okay. You'll find more of this. And make sure that you're already subscribed. Like I said, I've had several calls to action for comments down below. We'd love to see that. Obviously, love to see channel memberships and love to see support on Patreon to get access to the episodes early in audio format, get access to extra stuff, like some of our topic polls. We got Fail Betrayal and Fanservant Friday going. I'm pretty sure they would have ended. I think I know where Fanservant Friday is because I did put an extra special for the spooky month. I put H.G. Wells' Invisible Man in there. And that one was winning last I checked, so I'm pretty sure that guy's in. It's been a while since I read Invisible Man. Anyway, stay tuned for more stuff on the channel, so make sure you are liking, commenting, and subscribing to get all that, and you can get access to stuff early and extra stuff through Patreon. Really helps us out, really supports us, but thanks as always for listening. Some of our patrons pay for the extra special content, the extra special shout-out, like Adam Tarp, Blasto G, Call Me Zed, Carlos, Dragon, JDV9000, Crystalite, Rise of Kenji, Rogram, and Trevor, and Varian the Crow. Thank you very much for your support and listening, everybody. We'll see you next week for more Let's Talk FGO, and see you on Monday for more Rogue Trader stream.
Yeah.
No comment on when the AP will come out.
We will see.
All right. Night, everybody.